Let's jiggle it. That's it. Fight on the creek.
What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters fade.
Stop it.
World's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway.
won the Aryan Games or whatever? The Supreme Aryan Games. What were they calling it? I can't remember. The Patriot Games. Who won? What is Qlosophy? Was that supposed to be Phil's like social media website he was launching or something? He's pushing people back to that website for some reason. Since he did the crypto scam and stuff. Which is weird, right? No? All right, let's get Facebook. Like, switch accounts. It's funny, Phil's a multimillionaire and he's crowdfunding the support for Qlosophy, his website. $18,000 a donation so far. No agenda but the truth. Nailed it. Now let's check the chat. Okay. That works. Roll the intro.
Hey daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Welcome, everybody. I am Will Bird, and this is Cold Beer Confessional. Thank you for joining us. Welcome. Weird night tonight. Got started late. There was a gun incident, somebody holding somebody up, a dumpster diver, a used grill. There's a lot of shit going on, okay? You're lucky that I'm even here at all. Still don't know what the fuck was going on completely, but it was just weird. Anyways, yeah, this is the website. I saw him post about it on part of his some of his crypto posts, and I heard him mention it. I did get the Bono sent me a link to that Zoom call, so I've got it now. He mentioned it there, and there's some recent posts that says, does anyone else feel like Nasara is being rolled out slowly through Atom? Does it make sense that we, the awakened 1%, invest, move this forward, and eventually everyone gets in? Where we go one, we go all. So they're still holding out for Nasara. So these comments say, the possibilities are endless. We are on the cutting edge of the information. So wild. God said we would dream dreams that will help us. So don't discount them. Use them to help you or someone else. Makes perfect sense. Clearly. Anything is possible, I guess. Yes, that's exactly what I think is happening. Even non-investors will be able to make money and eventually opt out of the centralized matrix. Yes, Karen, it makes so much sense. We, the people, need to participate and move this forward. So now they don't even care they're losing money. They're just like, hey, we gotta usher in the Nasara Gasara by giving up all of our money. I think we will be able to escape first because of our investments. We are definitely on the same page, my friend. I agree 100%. I too am under that exact same impression. It feels like the coolest thing ever, but it's just frustrating for now as it's yet unborn still. I would say a little fetal distress, but all is well. Finally, somebody else who sees the whole picture is glorious. I also think Elon's droids come into play and his Teslas that will no longer need batteries because of the data centers. Thank you, conservative husky. I'm super excited. I think you also know what this all ends up proving in the end. God is real. That's number one, Karen. The natural progression of this, to me, proves God is real. When decentralized systems become available and start to grow, more and more opt into it because prosperity grows naturally for every participant. No more funneling money only to the top. When financial fear disappears, the trickle-down effects alone start to expose the giving, loving, creative, and adventurous side of humanity. This technology will streamline everything and help us solve real problems. It will eventually give us the ability to see to it that nobody goes without, nobody is sick, nobody falls through the cracks, and nobody is lonely. It may take our current mundane jobs, but they will be replaced with meaningful ones, in my honest opinion. Eventually, I think we look around and see love everywhere. God is love. So in a nutshell, AI, quantum, atom prove God is real. It's pretty mind-blowing, but it's what I see happening. I agree, Karen. You are seeing the 40,000-foot view. Yes, it's lonely when you see the whole thing and nobody else does. This is written like some poor fucking smut, dude. I was trying to help people see on the FAP, and I was attacked. I can't go back out there to other social media. Out of curiosity, how many of the really active accounts here do you really think are bots that interact? I've thought about asking a few bots if they're bots. I always think about that here on Qlosophy. It's definitely not as bad as some others, but there's only like 50 users, dude. Okay, good. You see it too. Just checking my crazy level. No, you aren't crazy. Oh, Russ, I stifle what I post for real. I would love to hear it. Damn, Russ. I always try and get people to share their thoughts, but I think some people shy away from it. Russ, that's so nice of you. Perhaps I'll DM. The thing is, I'm connecting dots that are making me think I'm a little crazy. Like, what I'm seeing can't be right. Karen, I think you probably have a lot of the same thoughts as me. I just follow the Holy Spirit and let God guide me. Damn. Alex, you fucking third wheel. Always, he says. Many of them will answer you. Really? Shall I ask them privately to get an answer? I asked one person privately, and avoid, and not well. Me too. He's got me here miraculously. I don't know how. I don't know what the fuck all that was. So they're ushering in Nasara Gassara. Clearly, 6 months ago, 4 hours ago, 5 hours ago, ads, and one post from 10 hours ago. It's like it just reposts a bunch of articles. They all have to do with like crypto right now. A lot of them aren't even in English. They're just it's the same article. We just fucking translated a bunch of different times. Financial articles and stuff. Streams, nothing. Recordings. There's recordings that were posted by the community, I guess. Who are these people? There's literally like 50 users, and this is their new social media. I thought Phil gave up on it till I heard him mention it the other day.
Hello. Just a quick little welcome. I'm Alex. That's Sammy. That's Joey. Love our kittens. Definitely God created cats to keep us very entertained. In any case, I'd like to just welcome all of you newcomers. I posted a kind of a to-do list that hopefully will help you. What else? Here for you. As you can see, the site is growing immensely. And with that said, there's some growing pains as far as management of the site. All of that is going to be coming. The chat is being worked on. As you can tell, if you're trying to chat with customer service, it's not going to work yet. Anyway, again, a huge shout out to Phil and Dima. None of this would be possible without them.
I think it's the greed that keeps him around, right? Because once he does that, people are going to like notice, like all his houses are sold. He's a non-extradition country, blah, blah, blah. I think it's the greed. Like he can keep playing to people and saying, you know, send me more money. I'm investing my money, blah, blah, blah. They just got to keep it going.
So that's pretty much.
I could be wrong.
I urge you to go through the whole website. There's nothing that you can screw up.
There's nothing on it. Why would there be anything we could screw up?
Where we go one, we go all. Anyway, have a good night. Talk to you soon. Bye.
So this is one of the biggest posts on the whole platform. It's got 11 comments. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing you could screw up here. Yeah, because there's literally nothing here. There's a forum, 34 threads, 37 threads, 54 threads, 193 threads. There's a manifesto for the quantum exodus. And then there's the donate button, which has a list of donors. Some dumbass donated $17,000. $17,505, 170, 126, 122, 22, 30, 30, 2760, 2522, 2517, 17. So to be in the top 10 of donors, you can either donate $26 or $17,001. If you want to be that's a wide spread across the donor base, huh? Tracking the countdown to Q-Day, the moment quantum computers break today's cryptography. And on top of that, I did end up with this. I haven't watched it all. It's kind of fucking boring as hell, but I did ask for it, and I got it now. I need to go through it, take some notes, but this is the... This is their little Zoom meeting they had. Also, Phil says 1 billion people are watching for some reason.
Okay, 100%. Hello, everybody. We're waiting for more people to join. Before that, I'd love, from now on I can see your reactions. I think that's Phil's vibe. That's Phil's magic. Phil is doing that magic to everybody. Yeah, everybody who loves Phil, like, drop your hearts. Let's see how many people. Okay, Phil, can you count them? We'll have to count things. You were telling me
it's 3 million, 6 million, 20 million. Wow, we're up to 1 billion already. Holy cow, look at that. See?
Okay.
I can count. 3 million, 6 million, 20 million. We're up to 1 billion already. Okay, stop the count. That's literally what he just did. The guy said, Phil, I know you like to count things. Can you count them? Yeah, 3 million, 6 million, 20 million. Oh, 1 billion. Yeah, okay, count over.
Phil, can you count them? We'll have to count things. You were telling me
it's 3 million, 6 million, 20 million. Wow, we're up to 1 billion already. Holy cow, look at that. See?
Okay.
Great.
You know what? Before the call, let's do what you do all week before the live streams. Let's count the cities.
Oh, okay. Where are the comments, though? Let me see. Oh, here it is.
Talk about phoning that shit in. Phil, can you tell us how many viewers we got? Yeah, 2 million, billion. Yeah, okay, we're good.
Exactly.
All right, yeah, let's do quick shout outs. Also, could they actually? Oh, they could type over there in the chat. All right, yeah, let's do it. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
It felt like everything was against us. The market was failing, liquidity was draining, the pressure was immense, but we didn't stop, and you didn't stop, and then you were standing behind them. So thank you, sincerely, deeply, from all of us. To those who have been here since 2024, special respect. You went through the hardest parts, and you deserve that comes next more than anyone. Now we are entering a new chapter. We are transitioning from multiple fundraising rounds into one single gateway, ATQM, one ecosystem, one token, one path forward. Today you will hear exactly what we have built, where we are going, and why this is the next phase is bigger than anything we were done before. Gregory, take a mic.
Thank you, Dima. That was a beautiful introduction. Before I start, I would love to ask our wonderful host, and I will ask everybody to shout out to beautiful Roman, who is with us under the host today to share the presentation. And let's dive a little bit into what happened with the products. What happened.
By the way, no definitive answers. Just, hey, we're moving on. You roll it in. You'll be able to cash out, even though you won't be able to cash out. Just the same shit over and over again. There's not a lot to it.
Project that we have will be the Jiggle one. The best thing that happened, and the thing that actually represents that we did our best and we succeeded, Jiggle is up and running. Jiggle is live on App Store and Play Market. That's
oh my God.
The best news ever. On June 26th, we launched on App Store. On July 26th, we launched in Android Market, in Play Market. Conversion to successful content generation, and that's not a joke, has reached 96%. Can you imagine that 96% of all the people who ever registered in Jiggle app, they create some kind of content, and that's what for Jiggle was created.
That's what for Jiggle was created.
Models, and let's say, for example, about image generation models, they compete with market leaders in blind tests right now, and the results are fascinating. The pipeline runs 2.5 times faster and 2.5 times cheaper than, for example, GPT 5.2, and that's unbelievable results of the blind tests. Unbelievable results. Over 90% of the feeds content is created by the users within the app. The platform generates its own content ecosystem with no external users and sources, and that's unbelievable. When we started,
He just said the platform creates its own content, even outside with no external sources or users. All that tells me is it's a giant bot farm. Like it's making its own content.
Jiggle, we wanted to help everybody to be able to create beautiful content. There are millions of people who are willing to be heard, who are willing to be known, but they just don't know how to do content and how to work with the content. And Jiggle is there to help you become an influencer. And right now, 96% users of Jiggle, they are creating any type of content, and that's unbelievable. What's next for Jiggle users? Of course, very soon, and that's the soonest updates, the web version will be ready to go. With the web version, you will have a lot of wonderful, unique features there as well. And besides that, that will replicate like full functionality of Jiggle app. So everybody who don't want to use an app to create the content and prefer your laptops or iMacs or whatever, you will be able to create your content online with the web version. Second big thing is subscription model for generations, right?
All right, I'm done. I'll watch this later and tell you any pertinent parts, but we don't have to watch it right now. It's boring as fuck. What I did want to go through is I never covered these videos, and there's probably updates since then. We're going to watch some of the News Girl videos. The one that I was wanting to cover that I never got to was the blocked, the mail-in ballot block struck down and the bringing back the IRS exemption for Trump, but we'll just start at the top.
The clock is ticking. Next week, President Trump will have to stop construction on his White House ballroom unless the Supreme Court steps in. And today, in this 45-page ruling, the Trump administration asked the justices to immediately allow him to continue. Oh, and he included several new renderings and photos of the construction and the ballroom. I'm going to show you all of that in a second, and I'm not going to bore you with the backstory of all the legal back and forth that's going on with this ballroom. Just trust me, it's a lot. So as Inigo Montoya says, let me sum up. The Trump administration is basically arguing to the Supreme Court that the president has all the authority he needs to knock down the east wing of the White House and build this 90,000 square foot facility. This ballroom and the underground military center are necessary for national security. Trump doesn't have
The Bella Soviets. Did you see where they booed the guy because he had an Arabic sounding name, but it was actually an officer killed in the line of duty? That was so fucking embarrassing for MAGA.
Have to ask Congress for any permission. The plaintiffs don't have standing to bring this case in the first place, and this is the new one. He is arguing the construction is already 65% done, so even if the court ultimately decides that the project was illegal, it's effectively too late to stop it now. As I reported in this video 1 week ago, the Washington, D.C. appeals court upheld a lower court ruling that found Trump's ballroom construction was illegal and it had to stop. But the court also said that Trump could continue the below-ground construction on the military center because it's a national security concern. The D.C. appeals court paused their order until August 21st, which is next week, to give Trump the ability to appeal. And that's exactly what his administration did today. They are now asking the Supreme Court justices to pause that appellate court ruling so they can continue the above-ground construction on the ballroom. The appeal to the Supreme Court calls the injunction a blatant abuse of discretion. The Trump administration is really playing up the national security angle, which I previewed would happen in last week's video. He is no longer calling it a ballroom. Now he's calling it a military center and saying it's required for national security. So the question is, why the shift in narrative now? Maybe because he feels like he has more legal authority to construct a military facility than he does a ballroom. And maybe because he thinks he's going to get more deferential treatment in the courts if he plays up this military angle and claims it's a national security issue. While in the appeal, the Trump administration says the threat landscape against the president has evolved and has become increasingly volatile and dangerous since the case was submitted to the D.C. court. As for the new argument about being too late to stop the construction, the Trump administration writes, today the project is 65% complete in its entirety and moving quickly towards total completion. They continue, by now it has passed the point where major changes to that design are feasible. This unfinished structure inherently presents...
So it's like better to ask for forgiveness than permission. He's already too far. We can't make changes now. Even if it was illegal, who cares?
Safety and security risks at the White House complex and operational challenges to the Secret Service. Okay, now to the photos and renderings. So we've seen this image before, but what's new here is we are now seeing not one, but two gold seals, for lack of a better word, that have been affixed to the walls of the exterior of this ballroom. This is a new rendering of what the interior will look like. There are two images of the drone port that will be on top of the ballroom. The president keeps talking about this. It looks like there's just one daytime version and what it'll look like at night. And then there's this
with fireworks
detailed look at the construction. Over there, you can see the White House. This walkway here used to be part of the East Wing, which obviously is not there anymore. Then there's this huge structure here that we know goes down underground several stories. Now, we are not the contractor who is responsible for this project. But what the president and his team are now swearing to in front of the Supreme Court is this image represents 65% completion of the project. It's hard to see how this is 65%.
It's nowhere near 65%.
Of this. It's unclear what the Supreme Court is going to do here. I will, of course, keep you posted. And if you want to read both the appeal and see the appendix, which includes all the renderings and photos, I'm going to email both out to you tonight in my Fax HQ email.
Pretty soon I'll be declaring the Hormuz Strait a territory of the United States. Essentially, Essentially, that's what we have.
Did you see where he kept saying over and over again, these beautiful little girls, beautiful little girls? Like he says it like 4 times in a row.
The blockade. No ships get through unless we want them to.
That wasn't the only eyebrow-raising thing President Trump said today. He also said this.
For you to pay a tiny little bit more for your gasoline, just remember, you're doing it so that a very evil country cannot have a country. Really, it's the '1 state sponsor of terror in the world. We don't want to have them have a nuclear weapon. So remember that when you have to pay a little bit more, you're at $4. It's okay. I mean, it's I'll never apologize. I did the right thing.
So let's talk about both of those statements one at a time.
Never apologize. That's what I look for in a leader.
And the first thing he said was that he was going to declare the Strait of Hormuz a territory of the United States. I have no idea why he said that or what authority he thinks he has to do that, but he did mention the U.S. blockade. There's no mechanism through a blockade to declare ownership over a body of water. In fact, the closure of the Strait of Hormuz happened not because of the blockade, but because Iran closed the strait. The blockade came later. Now, Iran has always believed it has authority over the Strait of Hormuz, but the international community and the United Nations has classified that waterway as an international waterway, so until Trump started this war, there had really been no tolls imposed or control over the strait by Iran. But what makes today's statement that Trump wants to make the strait a territory of the United States confusing is it completely contradicts what he said just 2 months ago.
The strait's going to be open to everybody. It's international waters. Nobody's going to control it. We're going to watch over it. We'll watch over it, but nobody's going to control it. That's part of the negotiation that we have. They would like to control it. Nobody's going to control it. It's international water.
And that contradicts what he said just 1 month ago when he posted that the U.S. was going to charge a 20% fee to all cargo shipped through the strait.
I don't think he knows
of that threat. And then just 3 weeks ago, he contradicted his position again.
In fact, if you combine us and Venezuela, we have about 62% of the world's oil market. So we don't need straits. We don't need anything. We don't need the Hormuz Strait.
So we went from the strait should be an international waterway and no one should control it to the U.S. should be reimbursed a 20% fee for all the ships that go through the strait to just kidding, we don't want to do that, to the U.S. doesn't need the strait, to now the strait should be a U.S. territory. I don't blame you if you're confused. I don't know what any of that means either. But it's the other thing that Trump said today that may become problematic in the upcoming midterm elections. He said he's never going to apologize that we are now paying more than $4 a gallon for gas. Now, for the record, according to AAA, the national average for a gallon of regular gas today is $4.08. That is up a penny from yesterday, 4 cents higher than last week, 22 cents higher than last month, and 92 cents higher than we were all paying a year ago. Now, I'm not breaking any news here, but the fact is high gas prices aren't really things that voters like. And when those high prices coincide with an election, that usually doesn't fare well for the people.
And he's never going to apologize for it.
Accept those high prices because it's a small price to pay to ensure that Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. But so far, we don't have a deal with Iran to ensure they'll never have a nuclear weapon. And also, experts point out that because of this war that the president started, Iran has now figured out that it has an equally devastating weapon at its disposal. Iran has now figured out that they can threaten the strait, which significantly impacts the entire global economy. So we'll have to see if either of these statements Trump made today are winning messages during the midterm elections.
Pretty soon I'll be declaring.
All right, listen to this. I'm not going to show you the video, but just why can't he stop saying this? Listen.
These young, beautiful girls, these young, beautiful girls in the White House, you know, they come in. Now, I'm not supposed
That's 3 times.
to say beautiful, but what the hell? These young, these gorgeous, beautiful girls, they want to be safe, and they come, Mr. President, may I speak to you? Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
This is part of the same speech with the guys in the police uniforms or whatever behind him.
I said, why are you thanking me? Because a year and a half ago, I was afraid to leave. I was afraid to open the door of my apartment. And now I walk to the White House every morning and I have absolutely no fear. Thank you, sir. These young, beautiful girls, these young, beautiful girls in the White House, you know.
That's not creepy at all, is it?
Soon, President Trump's name could be back on the facade of the Kennedy Center, even though a federal judge said that was illegal and his name had to go. According to one of the Kennedy Center board members, the Board of Trustees, which is almost entirely made up of people appointed by President Trump, voted today to get creative so they could find a way to get his name back on that wall. The board of installation on the facade that will read the John F. Kennedy Memorial Center for the Performing Arts, restored and renovated by President Donald J. Trump. The board of also voted to rename the entire physical site the Kennedy Center sits on the President Donald J. Trump Plaza. On top of that, the board voted again to close the main building of the Kennedy Center for 2 years to complete the major renovations the president has demanded. The federal judge in Washington, D.C., who ordered his name be taken off the wall, also said they couldn't shut the center down for 2 years. The Board of Trustees said today instead they will keep a separate, smaller part of the Kennedy Center open to host smaller-scale shows during the renovation. Now, one of the who sued to block...
At least he's worried about the right shit. Duh.
The previous attempts to put Trump's name on the facade said today she's going back to the judge. This latest development is a transparent effort to circumvent the court's ruling and flies in the face of the statutes that Congress passed. I will continue to fight...
I don't think Sean Kingston said beautiful girls as much as Trump did in that one speech.
For this treasured national monument. In his order back in May, the federal judge ruled that the Board of Trustees of the Kennedy Center does not have the power to change the name of the facility. Only Congress has that power because that center was designated and created by a law to be a living memorial to President John F. Kennedy after he was assassinated. But this new wording the board approved today is a clever way to possibly get around that court order, still get Trump's name on the wall, and still technically comply with the judge. See, by saying restored and renovated by Donald J. Trump, the board is not technically renaming the building. Now, it's possible the judge will still find this illegal, but it's also possible that he may not. The lawyer who worked with the representative who sued the Kennedy Center wrote that this move by the Board of Trustees today is a show of blatant disrespect to the courts. He went on to say the court already ruled against the board when it bowed to Trump's demands. Now the defendants must answer for their actions again in court. Neither the Kennedy Center nor the White House has commented on
This is the shit he's worried about.
As of right now, the tarp is still up, covering the entire facade and the Kennedy name. We'll learn more next week when both sides in this lawsuit have to file.
If he can't have it, nobody can.
The Department of Justice just joined President Trump, his family, and his businesses in asking the appeals court to pause a judge's order and remove the restrictions on their ability to use the settlement that includes the anti-weaponization fund and Trump's IRS immunity deal. And they want...
Remember, that was dead. The settlement fund, the slush fund, the $1 billion fund, and the immunity deal, that was all dead. Remember? Todd Blanche said it was dead. It was dead. That's how he got to become Attorney General. It's dead. Now they want the judge to step out and let him use the deal.
That ruling paused. Now they say it's time sensitive. But didn't Todd Blanche just say the anti-weaponization fund was dead? Wasn't that the whole point of delaying a Senate confirmation as Attorney General?
Yes.
Yes, it was. And the fact is, Todd
_Mackay_official just gifted 5 subs.
Thank you for the gifted subs. I appreciate it.
Blanche did put in writing that the anti-weaponization fund was dead.
The Attorney General's May 18th order establishing an anti-weaponization fund is rescinded and shall have no force or effect. For the avoidance of doubt, nothing in this order is intended to contradict or otherwise to be contrary to prior representation by the Department of Justice that the fund is not operative. No members were appointed, no funds were transferred, no process for receiving claims was established, no claims were paid. Nevertheless, several frivolous lawsuits have been filed challenging the fund. At least one court has declined to dismiss those claims as moot. The order establishes beyond any doubt that there is no fund. See all these other orders. Attorney General Todd Blanche, acting Attorney General.
So the question is, if that's true, why does the DOJ want the court's restrictions on the settlement thrown out?
Well, the only thing that's fucking left is the immunity part.
Speculate on their motive, but what I can tell you is, regardless of what Blanche or the president say to you in public, 1, they never said the IRS part of that settlement was dead. And 2, the only things that actually matter are what was agreed to in the settlement contract and what they actually file and swear to in court. And based on this filing, as I said, what Trump and the DOJ are swearing to in court is they want that judge's restrictions on their ability to use the settlement gone right now. And they ultimately want the judge's entire order thrown out. This 39-page response to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals filed yesterday by the DOJ is a full-throated rebuke of that lower court judge's order. That order, issued last month by a federal judge in Florida, found the unprecedented settlement between Donald Trump and his own DOJ and IRS was done in bad faith for an improper purpose. In the filing to the appeals court, the DOJ agrees with the Trump team, saying the federal court judge lacks the authority to stop this settlement. That Florida federal judge said in her July 13th ruling, because Donald Trump, the private citizen, is the exact same human being as Donald Trump, the sitting president of the United States, the fact is that
they didn't even file any fucking motions or anything. They just set the case up, went to settle, said, okay, yeah, $1 billion, and never prosecute Trump and his family and his charities or anybody associated with him ever, or investigate him at all. Cool. We all agree.
Trump controls both sides of this lawsuit, which is like the #1 no-no in the legal system. You can't do that. Lawsuits have to be between adversaries. The judge ruled that Donald Trump is in charge of the executive branch of the U.S. government, which includes the Department of Justice and the IRS. So he is, by definition, controlling both sides of the lawsuit. The judge...
Also, no one got my Sean Kingston joke. Thanks, chat, for letting me down.
Determined that Trump filed his $10 billion lawsuit once he became president against his own government with the intent to reach a settlement like this one and then dismissed the lawsuit before the federal judge could even look at it, which she said misled the court. Well, in this filing to the appeals court, the DOJ denies all of that, saying, of course, Donald Trump as a citizen can sue his own government. And of course, the two sides were adversarial. And of course, the parties in the lawsuit didn't mislead the court because the judge had no right to review the settlement. The undisputed facts of this case demonstrate adversity under any definition. Once more, the clearest marker of adversity is that one side didn't get what it initially demanded. And here, while plaintiff and his family sought $10 billion in damages, it is undisputed that they received no monetary compensation, but rather an apology and a mutual release of claims. Conveniently, the
What do you think is more valuable? Trying to get $10 billion, then convince people that that was the right move, that their taxpayers went to Donald Trump for $10 billion settlement, or get it set up to where you, your family, your charities, and any associated businesses can never be investigated by the IRS ever.
Lawyers didn't explicitly say in the appeals court filing that the mutual release of claims means, according to this document from Todd Blanche, that the president, his family, his extended family, and all his businesses would be immune from any IRS audits or investigations for tax filings anytime before May of 2026. And of the anti-weaponization fund, this filing only says the parties were contemplating the creation of the fund. The DOJ goes on to say it is impossible for the court to have been tricked into participating in any supposed charade or lending a patina for the simple reason that the parties never asked the court to do anything regarding the merits or settlement. The DOJ also takes a lot of issue with the Florida federal court judge's finding that the president colluded with his own Justice Department to use the courts to reach this unprecedented settlement. Their argument? If the president really wanted to collude with his own government to reach a settlement, he certainly wouldn't have gone through the court system to do it. A party need not file a lawsuit in order to obtain a full settlement with the federal government. Given this, if there had been some plan to collude, there wasn't. Filing a complaint would be the last thing the plaintiffs, Trump, would do because it would ensure public attention. Obviously, this was just filed, so the appeals court judges have not yet ruled on whether or not they're going to pause the lower court judge's ruling. I'll keep you posted. But if you want to read this extraordinary document from the Department of Justice, I'm going to email it out to you tonight in my Facts HQ email, which of course is free, so make sure you sign yourself up. So
They're not even trying to hide the corruption anymore.
Legend of
They don't care.
Pretzel just resubscribed for 46 months. Hey, Bort.
Hey, Bort. Thank you very much. Bort is going to be debating Andrew Wilson. I don't know if you guys heard that or not. That should be a good one.
the price for a home in the United States just hit another record high. I'm sure that is nothing.
Hell yeah.
You are in the market
That screams re-election campaign to me.
to buy a house. But what
Record high housing prices.
record high prices, and because mortgage rates keep going up, to no one's surprise, existing home sales in the month of July slowed down. The National Association of Realtors says existing home sales in July of 2026 decreased by about 2% when compared to June of this year, but increased almost 1% when compared to July of last year. The National Association of Realtors basically says we should be happy that the sales numbers are this good right now because the high mortgage rates are really putting a dark cloud over the entire housing market. Let's get to these home prices, shall we? The National Association of Realtors describes an existing home as a single-family house, townhouse, condo, or co-op. And what you're paying for a house obviously depends on where you live in the United States. So I'm going to get to those specific regional numbers in a second, but nationwide, NAR says the median existing home sales price for all housing types in the month of July was more than $434,000. That is up 2% from last year and marks the 37th consecutive month of year-over-year price increases. The least expensive existing homes in this country were found in the Midwest, where the median existing home price was nearly $343,000. That's almost 3% higher than July of 2026. The third most expensive existing homes were in the South, where the median price was nearly $372,000, up nearly 1% from last July. The second most expensive existing homes were in the Northeast, where the median price was nearly $564,000, up more than 5% from last year. And the most expensive existing homes, no surprise here, were in the West, where the median price was more than $622,000. That's up just slightly from July of 2025. So if you want to read this report from the National Association of Realtors for yourself, inflation's death grip on the U.S. economy is just not letting up, and it's continuing to swallow more and more of your paycheck, and I have the numbers to prove it. So first, today, the Bureau of Labor Statistics released the Consumer Price Index report for the month of July. It found inflation is 3.4% when compared to...
I mean, if the Trump supporters weren't living in such a goddamn fantasy world, would they just be all fucking killing themselves in mass?
July of last year. That's up just a little bit from June of 2026. Now, it's true that 3.4% annual
Lisa something, but she goes by the news girl.
inflation is technically better than the 3.5% annual
She doesn't do politics. She just reports it.
inflation reading we got in June. But 3.4% is still well over the 2% inflation goal the Federal Reserve has set. So what's going on? Well, according to the report, it's really because of the high gas prices, but it's also because of the high costs for food and shelter. You know, all the things we all need to survive. So let's start with these gas prices. According to today's report, the index for all types of gasoline was up 25% when compared to July of last year. Now, the report did find that between June and July of this year, the index for gasoline was down about 3%. But still, you can't set aside that year-over-year number of 25%. That is a lot. Food overall was up 3% when compared to July of last year, and shelter...
It's up 25% year over year, but they're going to say, well, it's down 3% from last month. Yeah.
More than 3% year over year. The cost for shelter has consistently gone up for years. Now, let's get to the reason why you probably feel like you're making more money than you ever have before, but you still can't make ends meet. There's a good explanation for that. I always think it's easier to explain these things by looking at it on a chart. It just makes more sense to me. I hope it does for you too. This is a chart that represents annual inflation versus average hourly earnings, going all the way back to the beginning of President Trump's second term. The blue line is the inflation line. The red line is average hourly earnings. Now, as workers, we always want to see that red line above the blue line. That would mean your average increase in wages is higher than whatever it's costing you for all the goods and services you need to survive. Does that make sense? Now, that was happening. Wages were outpacing inflation all the way through to right here. This is March of 2026 when you see that blue line crosses over the red line. And then all of a sudden, inflation was higher than average wage gains. Does that make sense? Now, for a brief stint right here in June of 2026, the two lines were equal. Wage gains and inflation were the same, meaning it was a wash for your paycheck. But now in July of 2026, you can see again, just slightly, that blue line is above the red line. Now, also, I want to point out one more feature that is new to the Trump second term, and that is the average wage gains have been consistently going down. In fact, this July number is the lowest wage gain number we've seen since Trump took office in January of 2025. So if you want to read this new consumer price index report for the month of
buyer's market,
I'll out to you tonight in my Facts HQ email
or whatever they say. Oh, wrong way.
The price for a home, inflation's death grip on the U.S. President Trump's plan to use the United States Postal Service to decide who can and cannot use a mail-in ballot in the upcoming midterm election just got shut down nationwide by a federal judge in Massachusetts. Now, this is most certainly not the end of this story, but before I tell you what's next, you need to know that this federal judge in Massachusetts issued a nationwide...
This is the big debate about postmarked by or received by or delivered by, and what the only standard we have is postmarked by. That's got to be the standard. Because if we say, oh, well, you know, it's got to be received by, what if I get it postmarked 6 weeks before the election? It gets fucking shuffled around, lost in a truck, and with a whole bunch of other ballots, and still doesn't make it to the election. You know what I'm saying?
Injunction that blocks USPS from implementing President Trump's executive order titled Ensuring Citizenship Verification and Integrity.
I heard about the porn was taking over the jiggle. I need to download it, I guess. Let's see if I can get it.
Now, before you say, the Supreme Court ruled that federal judges can't issue nationwide injunctions. Shh. No, they didn't. In Trump versus Casa, the Supreme Court did restrict how federal judges can issue injunctions that apply to the entire United States. But they never said judges could never issue nationwide injunctions. What the justices ruled was, in most cases, if a federal judge is going to issue an injunction,
I'm downloading it,
generally only apply to the plaintiffs who are suing. But the High Court also said if a nationwide injunction is necessary to provide complete relief to not only the plaintiffs in the case, but also to those who are not part of the case, federal judges can absolutely still do that. And that's what this judge in Massachusetts just did. She determined, because Section 3 of this Trump executive order would apply to every single state and millions of lawful male voters.
Lots of porn.
To the League of Women Voters.
That is true.
Who are suing. It should also apply to the whole country. In her ruling, this judge goes through the history of the Postal Service and federal mail voting laws, of all the mail voting laws in each of the states, and even the Constitution, where she pointed out the power of the states to conduct elections in the way they see fit. She reaffirms what the Constitution says by writing, the executive branch has no authority to regulate elections. The judge even took a dig at the president's public statements about how this USPS mail voting rule is necessary because all these migrants are voting illegal.
Who is this jiggler? Who's Dr. J? You told me you didn't have a jiggle accounts. What you jiggling underneath that blanket? Dr. Javier Banana, everybody. Busted. Is that what you and Itsuko's been working on, your secret projects? Oh, so many bots. Hi, beautiful. Beautiful. Hello. Perfect. Hi, want to talk, you speak English? Beautiful. You are a good-looking lady. Hi there, mama. Oh my God. They just made fucking horny boomer Instagram. And Legend. Is that you, Legend? That's the account name. Legend of Pretzels. Right there. God damn. She got that panda eye shit going on. Look at that. The fuck are them? Looks like the rings underneath Bert's eyes. Lots of porn. Wow, lots of porn. Sorry, I'm back.
In our elections. P.S. It's already a federal crime for a non-citizen to vote in a federal election. But in this case, the judge writes, the record is devoid of any declarations or other proffered evidence to suggest that mail-in voting has resulted in voting by non-citizens. That's a fancy way of saying, while that's what President Trump keeps telling you over and over and over again, that's not what his own Justice Department is swearing under oath in the federal courts. She even writes that the Trump administration has notably declined to argue that if this Trump executive order is blocked by the courts, that mail-in voting would be jeopardized in any way. The judge defends her decision to issue this nationwide injunction by saying this Trump executive order is currently causing
I gotta uninstall this shit. I'm done.
And an erosion of trust in our democracy. The court finds that enfranchisement heavily outweighs the executive's attempt to unconstitutionally insert itself into the domain of election regulation. That it is now less than 90 days before the November 3rd, 2026 midterm elections underscores the critical need for an injunction to prevent defendants, the Trump administration, from changing election rules on the eve of the election. The Trump administration, though, of course, not letting this go. They have already appealed an earlier ruling by the same judge that permanently blocks the Postal Service from carrying out the president's executive order in the 23 blue states and swing states who have sued. And just today, the Trump administration filed...
Don't be worried, chat. Yes, I saw a lot of porn. Yes, it was right there on my phone screen. Yes, a lesser man may have been tempted and full-blown erection, okay? But you can't erect what's already erect. You hear what I'm saying? I come in ready for the show.
This supplemental brief to the Supreme Court telling them about this latest ruling from the Massachusetts judge and reiterating the urgent need for the high court to take this case and put a pause on these rulings so that the Trump administration can carry out the president's executive order to restrict mail-in ballots before the midterms. So I'll keep you posted on what
the power of Christ compels you to give little Bert a little kiss.
Court says. But if you want to read this ruling from the Massachusetts federal judge, or if you want to read the Trump administration's supplemental brief to the Supreme Court filed today, I'm going to email both out to you tonight in my... Is the president trying to hide something, or is the Justice Department just trying to get its legal ducks in a row just in case Democrats take control of either the House or the Senate?
That's right.
Midterms. So it all comes down to this obscure 21-page document released just yesterday by the Department of Justice, which just so happened to be Todd Blanche's first day as Attorney General. This document is from the Office of Legal Counsel, and it outlines a new legal opinion from the Trump DOJ that redefines and interprets which presidential communications can be shielded under executive privilege from public records requests, legal investigations, and even in some cases, subpoenas. Now, according to this opinion from the Trump DOJ, executive privilege can include communications from outside advisors to the president who are not even employed by the federal government. The term advisor is defined very loosely. So let me back up for a second. Executive privilege is not...
I think they know that they're about to lose as well, and they don't want to be... They want to be careful about any future investigations.
Presidents do need to have the ability to have confidential discussions with certain advisors to make important decisions. But the courts have said very clearly that executive privilege has limits. The court says presidents can't just declare executive privilege over everything and then keep everything secret. No. In the past, the courts have said presidents can assert executive privilege over confidential communications that are used in official presidential decision-making that directly involves the president or his close presidential advisors. The courts have determined that executive privilege could be expanded to communications among presidential advisors and their staffs when they're directly preparing advice for the president. But the courts have really narrowed the scope of which presidential advisors involved can qualify for this privilege. Generally, executive branch documents that never actually reach the president or his immediate advisors have a harder time to qualify for executive privilege. So now let's talk about what Trump's DOJ has just done. The Office of Legal Counsel is now saying in this new memo that it doesn't matter whether the person advising the president works for the federal government or not. DOJ says confidential communications with private advisors, including members of the public, the corporate world, or state officials, can formally fall under executive privilege. Now, that doesn't mean every conversation the president has with a private person suddenly becomes shielded under executive privilege. Even the DOJ says there are limits. This legal opinion came up with a 3-part test to determine whether communications can be shielded.
They're trying to implement that outside advisors talking to Trump, that should automatically be shielded. Now, the only reason they'd be doing that is if they know they've said some shit and they're like, oh, well, somebody's going to look into this. Who would be looking into it? Well, after midterms.
DOJ says, 1, it can qualify for executive privilege if the communication relates to official presidential decision-making. 2, it must involve or reflect communications with the president or his direct advisors. And 3,
imagine all the conversations they just had around crypto after they've made billions of dollars for his family.
The communication must be confidential. That word confidential is super important here. The DOJ says if the conversation between the president and his private advisor was ever public, or if the president later reveals the substance of the conversation publicly, even on social media, he can no longer assert privilege over that communication. But in reality, this new Trump DOJ opinion is saying, for example, if the president confidentially calls one of his billionaire friends to get his opinion on an issue the president is making a decision about, the DOJ now says that communication can be shielded by executive privilege. So why is that important? Because there's a real-world consequence. There's a lot of talk right now about Democrats taking over either one or both of the chambers of Congress after the midterms. And if Democrats do win one or both of those chambers, they will absolutely launch a bunch of investigations. For the record, that's exactly what Republicans did when they took control of the House and the Senate in 2025. It was investigation palooza. Well, it's possible the Trump DOJ is putting out this opinion now and expanding who qualifies for executive privilege to protect the documents and communications between the president and the people he talks to in the private sector from being turned over to Congress. Let me give you a hypothetical. Let's just say Democrats win control of the House after the midterms. Once they're in power, let's say they want to conduct an investigation into the finances of President Trump's new ballroom. They want to know more about who exactly is donating, if those donors were promised anything in return for their money, and how those donations came to be in the first place. Did Trump ask them? What happened? Hypothetically, Democrats would likely subpoena confidential White House communications between the president and those CEOs and billionaire donors about Trump's decisions surrounding that ballroom project. The White House would likely refuse and claim executive privilege. So, knowing this administration, the case would likely end up in court. And in the past, Congress, under its Article 1 constitutional oversight authority, could make a powerful argument about the necessity of getting their hands on those documents and communications because those CEOs and those billionaires aren't even government employees, so how could their communications be protected? But now the White House would be able to point to this specific legal counsel and argue the executive privilege should stand, and those communications and documents should be shielded because those private donors were also advising the
We got to make special protection for special Trump because he's taking special measures
about an official presidential decision at the time for the ballroom. So who would win that case? Well, the reality is we don't have a court decision on whether presidential communication privilege extends to communications that don't directly involve the president when Congress is the one issuing a subpoena. And we certainly don't have a court ruling saying that these kinds of communications with private advisors outside the executive branch can be shielded under executive privilege. So if you want to read this very important opinion from the DOJ on executive privilege, I'm going to email it out to you tonight in my fact.
That was the last one I wanted to see from her. So Candace Owens and Andrew Wilson did a debate on $300,000 debate, allegedly. It was Joe Rogan said something about it. It was going to be there. Then PBD did it. Then
HQ email, which of course is free. So
his wife was bitching because they were going to have it at Candace's house at one point, but they told Andrew Wilson he couldn't smoke inside the house, and that fucking shut it down. Anyways, Candace Owens came out looking like a fucking retard. I think conspiracy laden retard. She was just like, I have sources. And he's like, well, what makes your sources valid? And they're like, well, they posted pictures of this and that, and no one else has those pictures. So my sources, like, what she's trying to do is this, like, try to appeal to their expertise, right? If they have a picture of the crime scene that no one else has, then clearly they're somehow tied to this investigation. But that doesn't also give weight to the fact that they think it's all a cover-up by the Israeli government. So if I have a picture that no one else has seen because I'm the one who took it during the investigation and I'm able to distribute that to somebody, right? That also doesn't mean that I know that Israel was behind it and there was the French Foreign Legion was on the ground that day. But there was one good spot that even Destiny picked out that Candace Owens burnt his ass.
It looks so.
She asked him, well, do you even know what he's being charged with? Do you even know what Tyler Robinson is charged with? And he's like, oh, yeah, of course I do. And she's like, okay, what? He's like, murder. And it's not just murder, but here we go.
If she could even get like 5 of them, it looks so bad. Why would he feel confident? She asked the question. Why would he think that she would ask a question like that she wouldn't be able to answer? That because that's the thing that Andrew would do.
Do you know any of the charges he's up for right now?
Yeah, of course, but I want to make sure that we have them listed.
Yeah, but like can you name one? Because my general perspective is that you don't actually care about this case. You're not following the case.
I mean, like, that's a fair thing to say.
If you're going to engage, you're going to say the evidence is overwhelming that Tyler Robinson is guilty. I just think that you should. Can you tell me one?
Then let's do the
charge
counter. Name all 7 since you've been following the case.
She's also being hunted by the French. Remember, because she did all that stuff about Macron's wife.
Can you name one?
I think he's been charged with murder.
That's actually incorrect.
Okay, great. Now name all 7.
It would be more qualified, probably, right?
The first charge is aggravated murder because that's what carries a death sentence in the state of Utah. No, that's
going to be a qualifier. Yeah.
That is literally not murder.
Okay.
And so just for people, I don't have to do it in a time limit. There's nothing going on.
Like, if she could even get like 5 of them, it looks so bad. Maybe she can't though. She just seems like she's not trying to answer the question. But if she can name even 5 of them, oh no.
And shows that he doesn't actually care about this at all is because aggravated murder, it's narrowly defined and because it carries a death sentence. I'm going to answer the question.
Okay,
you're just going to recognize that your strategy of thinking that people are intimidated when you try to put a time constraint doesn't work, and you'll be better the next time you do it.
I got it. Give me the other ones.
The more you cut me off, the longer I'll take. Do you want to just wait for me to finish of why that's a big difference so that people don't walk away?
I just want you to list the charges.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. You just don't get to pretend there's a time constraint for me to do that.
Well, how long does it take you to list 7 charges?
Because I'm speaking. You just got to.
It sounds like you're just delaying it because you don't know them.
I know all 7 of them.
Then
and I'm going to say
them.
again because you're going to get embarrassed. You don't have to rush this. I'm also showing an example of a very flawed debate strategy. I actually am under no time constraint.
I got one.
Great. The second charge is the felony discharge of a weapon. The next 2 charges are for obstruction of justice.
Okay.
The next 2 charges are for witness tampering. And the
final. What's the specific charges though?
That is them. Obstruction of
That's the that's going to be the charge. USC, whatever bullshit, or it might be written in it won't be citing federal statutes. Probably it's going to be citing Utah statutes or whatever. But that would probably be the
justice, obstruction of justice, witness tampering.
Okay, and there's no other specifics to him.
Well, I can tell you why he's being charged.
No, just
Oh no!
The charges, and then 7.
Yeah. See, the bad thing is when you try to be an a-hole and it doesn't work.
What's the 7th?
The last charge is violence in front of a minor.
Oh no! Andrew.
She knew them all.
Time to leave.
This is where you start coughing and you say, "I have stage 4 lung cancer. Sorry, guys, I'm gone from the internet."
If she could even get like 5.
Let's do. It turned into a lot of stupid conspiracy stuff. See somebody got the best moment, louder with Crowder. I'd rather not watch his shit.
You listed on your own Twitter that what you found to be convincing was something that looked like his car pulled into the driveway, a blurry image.
No, I didn't.
The standard white guy coming up the steps that could literally be anyone.
This never happened.
You wrote the car pulling in, Robinson getting out of it, the fact that he is seen 4 other times on camera, the DNA on the roof and on the screwdriver that he left behind.
The car pulling in, Robinson getting out of it, the fact he's seen him four other times on camera. So yes, you did say all those things.
It's overwhelming, man.
Yeah, but that's not an exhaustive list.
Just so we're clear, you did tweet the entire basis for why you think that there's evidence for Tyler Robinson being the person that took the shot is based off of a hearing under Utah 1102 rules, meaning that they are doing the exact same thing that I'm doing. This is the state. You said you're here to represent the state. Well, did you watch the preliminary
hearing? I didn't say I was here to represent the state.
The state's position you think is strong and convincing.
What I'm here to do is represent my own opinion,
you
which
said
is
in
that
your opening statement,
based on the evidence presented so far by the state.
The state has presented evidence.
I hate them both, to be fair.
Under Utah's 1102 rule.
But this doesn't demonstrate any patching.
No, that's very important because that rule is hearsay. So you can't say at the same time, Candace, you're not.
He cornered her at one point where she texted out that, or she said that I'm 100% convinced now that Erica Kirk is complicit in this. And he's like, complicit in what? What? Like the killing, the murder, the cover up, the story, what? And she just wouldn't name anything.
Not allowed to. And what that means under the Utah rule, which I'm sure you know, because I'm sure you watched the preliminary hearing and yourself understand what that means, is that the entire hearing was hearsay. It means none of that information that was presented is going to be allowed. The majority of it, the overwhelming majority of it is not going to be allowed at the trial. They're allowed to present when it's just a probative hearing.
I don't think all the evidence that was put in was hearsay.
Okay, you didn't watch this case.
But not only that,
no, this is a huge point. This is crazy that you don't know this.
Fact check.
Yes, we need more than a fact check. This was every single day. Utah rule 1102.
So they said there's a medical examiner's explanation of the shooting that's in the back. Rob, if you want to pull it up, and then Candace, if anybody from your team wants to pull something up, no problem as well, but they're requesting it. If you guys got it, pull it up so we can show it. And in the interim, is that it?
Yeah. So I'll read this.
Just what are we looking at, just so we know?
Yeah, so this says the bullet, or at least part of it, sequentially perforated the interior left of Mr. Kirk's neck, strap muscles of the left side of the neck. This is a summary, by the way. Left common cartoid on the left internal external jugular veins. The bullet also obliterated the left side C27 vertebrae, transacted the cervical spinal cord. Medical examiner observed a significant portion of Kirk's cervical spinal cord was traumatically absent. Mr. Kirk suffered from other severe injuries, including bilateral, apical, and posterior intercausal hemorrhages, pulmonary, apical hemorrhages, multiple disruptions to the thyroid, et cetera, et cetera. So the summary of the examination said he was shot.
Okay.
That was what they were pulling that up
for. And I'm not disputing that he could have been hit with a projectile. We're not disputing that, so I don't know why this was brought up as a fact check. Could you
with a projectile
to Utah rule? Because this is an unbelievable point that you're making by saying that I am not allowed to infer off of evidence.
You can infer. I'm trying to follow the inference.
But your entire reason, like you asserted that you believe there's overwhelming evidence on the basis of what we saw in the preliminary hearing. The entire preliminary hearing was hearsay.
Yeah, I'm fine with your inferences.
No, you just literally said I couldn't do that. Yes, I can.
No, I didn't. I'm just saying from your inference, how do we get to Patsy?
This is how you got to Shooter. Tyler Robinson did it. The same way that you got to Tyler Robinson. Yes, you did. This is something important, so we should pull up a fact check about what the 1102 Utah, under their constitution, for the sake of a preliminary hearing, they do not have to have hard evidence. They don't have to put people on the trial.
They don't have to.
But no, that's why the entire hearing was basically hearsay. Officer Bagley.
But not all of it, like I said.
The overwhelming majority. Outside of the one that you don't want to give. Please don't cut me off. Outside of that is what's in dispute. It means that your entire brand of saying you don't have evidence, falls apart when the entire preliminary hearing is based off of hearsay. In fact, Lance's testimony before they had about an hour debate. Actually, maybe it was more than an hour debate before he sat, and they said this is not going to be allowed. You wouldn't even be allowed to do this. We'd be able to cross-examine him. The questions that they're asking Lance are all leading. And what did he say? Well, I'm the magistrate under Utah Constitution. 1102. It is my job to allow all of this so we can see if the state has enough here that we can then move to a trial, which will then they would not allow this stuff. They would say we get to cross-examine.
Right. So your preliminary hearing.
No, but the entire substance of your argument is that people can't infer off of evidence. That's what you're saying to me. When you say, Candace, you can't talk about the great inference, which say facts,
I'm not
and then
saying
infer off of that that Tyler could have been a patsy.
You're just literally making stuff up. So here's what the position is.
I'm not making stuff up. I'm saying that I think you let's pull that up. that up. I am doing exactly what the state did. Okay. I'm looking at a piece of evidence and I am saying.
But you're not showing me how you get there.
Can you describe to the audience what
yes. So this, just so everybody who's watching this at home understands what I'm saying, even if he doesn't. What Andrew is arguing is that I don't have the right to extrapolate from a fact like
making it up. Just purely making it up. I'm asking based on
Andrew,
based on
can I
your
show my evidence? You just showed yours. Reliable hearsay. Reliable hearsay in criminal preliminary examinations. The entire preliminary hearing that you just saw was on the basis of reliable hearsay. And what that means essentially is the people who are making the statements can just say, Patrick told me that he did this on Monday. Patrick's not here.
So what she's trying to say is there's more lax rules in this preliminary hearing than would be allowed in an actual court if they move to try this out, right? There would be more objections and more stuff would be thrown out. It's more lenient during this preliminary hearing to see if they have enough evidence or not.
And that is, they can allow that into the hearing. That's just because it's just meant to be probative. And so it's the state saying, here's what we have inferred. So you are allowed to take a piece of evidence and then you are allowed to infer off of that evidence. Okay. Case in point, that's a demonstration that's a demonstration of what I just did. I said the prints were the most degraded off of Tyler Robinson. And from that, what I am inferring is that it's plausible that Tyler Robinson was set up.
That doesn't, that's the point in contention.
That's not a point in contention. That's the
point in contention.
It's not a point in contention. If you're saying
it is the point in contention.
It's not the point in contention. I'm telling you that is what the entire hearing allowed for. So the evidence that he is describing, that he is using to argue his case is all based on inference, not fact.
Great.
Inference, not fact. So they are inferring off of the facts.
So again, we're going to take this. And I'm just going to even grant it because it's irrelevant. I'm asking how you get to the inference that even if you dispute that piece of evidence, that means Patsy. I'm looking for the logical chain for how you get to that inference.
What I am telling you is it's the exact same way that when you tweeted, I think that this evidence is overwhelming. When they say that looks like Tyler Robinson's car, he drives a similar car, okay? They are inferring that that's Tyler Robinson.
Can you walk me through the inference so that I understand?
It's not a fact. It's not a fact. When you show a blurry image, which you kept citing that we have
I'm
images.
talking about your inference that the fingerprints, even if they're degraded, equals Patsy. How do you get that inference?
I didn't say it equals Patsy. I think it is enough evidence that it should be explored, which is exactly what this preliminary was in the inverse.
That's not in dispute. What's in dispute is when you said, I'm using this as evidence that he could have been a Patsy. I'm asking, how do you get the inference to Patsy from that?
Because what I am saying is that it shows that somebody else had more DNA.
This is like several hours. It had structured ad breaks. Like they were all, so Valuetainment, PBD was streaming it, Candace was streaming it, and they went to these like, okay, we're going to take an ad break now. And then for like 5 fucking minutes, all the streams played ads. Like they had to pay Candace Owens $300,000 for this. Like she made a shit ton of money. He kind of got cucked a couple times. She was always going to look crazy. I don't think he could have made himself look better. His only option was looking worse. Like none of this worked out in their favor except for Candace.
On that gun than Tyler Robinson did. So it is plausible, which is all they're doing. They're presenting plausibility based off of the facts. Okay, it is plausible that somebody just took his gun and put it there. That's it.
Is there equally
that's how it works.
And is there equally 100 other plausible explanations?
I think that's the reason why most people are exploring when things don't make sense.
Got it.
So yes, at the beginning of that, this is how the court process works.
So
just so we're clear,
if there's 100 other plausible explanations in Candace, why is it that we should go with this idea that it was a Patsy?
I'm not saying that we should go with the idea that it was a Patsy. I am saying that there is.
I thought that was the whole defense. Your whole.
By the way, when they play, there's a bunch of places where they play her clips of her doing shit and saying shit. And yeah, she backed way off this stuff. She's like, I never said that, but like they play the clip and then clearly she said that.
No, my whole claim was
like at one point she said she was 100% sure that Israel and France were involved. And she's like, I never said that. They play the clip. She did. She's like, I'm saying that in my mind that I think that
there's more evidence that he is set up as a Patsy.
How does that equal evidence of Patsy?
I don't know how many times I can say this. Like I'm saying that I am using the exact same mechanism that you are accepting for some reason in the Utah courtroom, right? To say, I'm going to look at the evidence and I'm going to infer an alternative theory. So you just saw the states and you're accepting it. And they've not presented any concrete facts. You listed on your own Twitter that what you found to be convincing was something that looked like his car pulled into the driveway, a blurry image.
No, I didn't.
The standard white guy coming up the steps that could literally be anyone.
This never happened.
Can we get a fact check on that? Can we pull up his tweet where he goes over the floor?
That's what convinced me.
When you actually didn't say it's what convinced me, but you said this is the evidence that you found to be overwhelming. And you named, I believe, actually 5 things. I think you said it was his car. You said it was.
Well, there's multitudes of things that I find.
You just said you didn't say it, so we're going to get a fact check on that. You did.
Go ahead.
You said the blurry images coming up the steps. Quite literally, when Officer Bagley testified, they talk about when I'm talking about making inference. This is the most I thought was the most absurd testimony I've ever heard. And pardon me, it was actually David Hull. They asked him a question.
Remember when the pathetic patriot was going to be the next big contributor on Valuetainment?
You know, the guy in the maroon shirt was the same as the guy that came up the stairs later that was wearing the American flag black shirt. And he said, they're wearing the same shoes.
Why is that absurd?
That's how you decided these two are the same people. Oh, wow, what a scientific. They're both wearing Converses. Okay, that's an absurd thing to say. That is not evidence that these are the same people if we're both wearing Converses. That was what he said. That's what flew on the stand.
But I still don't understand how that would be absurd. If somebody,
it's an absurd thing.
For instance, if somebody were to change their clothes but keep the same shoes on, wouldn't you utilize the shoes to try to track that person?
As one point, yeah, but you wouldn't, when someone asked you, like, How do you know this is the same person? You wouldn't just list the shoes.
The idea that on a college campus, two people wearing this totally different outfits, but both wearing Converses can't happen is such an absurdity that I don't even need to like argue that. I'm just going to let people deal with it. Why? Just concede that point. Obviously, it's absurd thing to say.
I'm not
I know
sure,
these are the same people because they're both wearing Converse.
Yeah, I'm not sure if in context that's what happened, but
It
even
is.
if it
You can
is,
get a fact check on
but
it.
even if it is, again, if we're utilizing inferences, whenever we're dealing with logic and we're dealing with making a logical inference, we're going to take the entire collaboration of evidence and then we're going to make inferences from that. You would do that with any type of logical proposition. Otherwise, you could never have a true or false claim.
You just told me I couldn't.
So when that never happened. You're just making stuff up. So anyway, when we're talking about logical inferences, what I'm looking for is
bring out the fucking pickle jars, dude. It needs to be taken down a couple notches.
Logical inferences that you have that Tyler Robinson's a patsy based on a totality of evidence that you have.
We can keep going through your other evidence, but we should find this tweet where he lists the reasons that he was convinced.
So let's start with the 30-6. I think that's fine.
Your team's looking for. Do you remember how long ago that was?
The tweet of the 5. Did you delete it or no? Did you delete the tweet? Okay, cool. Just look for. He said it was his car. It was his. It was the car, and it was definitely the staircase photos, and it was when the trial was going on.
Okay, she has it. Perfect. If you got, Skylar has it. If you want to pull it up so we can see it.
Somebody said, so give me the clear evidence right here. I want you to provide it right here. All I heard from the investigator was, we believe this to be Tyler Robinson. Is belief something you go as a fact? You wrote the car pulling in. That's a totally blurry image. Robinson getting out of it. You have no idea if that's Tyler Robinson. The fact that he is seen 4 other times on camera, the fact being just a standard white boy with brown hair was seen walking up staircase. The DNA on the roof, we should discuss that. And on the screwdriver that he left behind, it's overwhelming, man.
Yeah, but that's not an exhaustive list.
So just so we're clear, you did tweet it.
But it's not an exhaustive.
Well, they said, give me the clear evidence. I want you to provide it right here. And you said it's overwhelming. But that's not an exhaustive list. I have 2 or 3 of those lists, at all times on me.
Well, you said I only said this one thing and said that was overwhelming, actually.
That's not what I said.
It is. You can even pull your own clip.
Can you fact check if that was said or not? I did not hear her say.
So the thing
names, I believe, actually 5
things. The thing funny here is we still aren't getting to any of these inferences. So
why are you pivoting? Just say you're wrong. Just to say I was wrong.
I'm not wrong. So back to the tweet aspect here. It was really funny. That's not an exhaustive list of why I find it.
I didn't say it was exhaustive. I just said you said it.
And on top of it, well, no, you didn't. You said that I only said this one thing.
You named, I believe, actually 5 things.
And then said based on that it's over. Well, I didn't. You didn't mention that I mentioned the screwdriver, DNA, all these other things. You never mentioned any of that.
You wrote the car pulling in, Robinson getting out of it, the fact that he is seen 4 other times on camera, the DNA on the roof, and on the screwdriver that he left behind. It's overwhelming, man.
So no, you're actually incorrect there. But on top of that, moving over to the actual evidence itself.
Are you?
Yes, I'm okay. Anyway, back to the evidence
you're
itself.
Okay.
Yes,
actually, I'm glad you're asserting that you're okay. I wasn't worried about your health. I'm just saying that. I just said you tweeted this. You said no, I didn't. We got a fact check, and now you're just going to gaslight me and pretend that I said
no gaslighting.
It wasn't exhaustive. I never said that. I just said you did say this.
Zero gaslighting.
I didn't say you couldn't have said more, but I would like to address what you said in that tweet.
If this is how you want to spend it interrogating my position, you can do it that way.
I'm just addressing what you asserted on your Twitter.
There were no time limits. He tried to step in a couple times. And just ask normal, fucking less hostile questioning, but
like the hard evidence that convinced you was overwhelming. That's literally
not what you said.
With the way they meandered their way through this and jumped and leaped and spun and changed, they should have done like fucking statements and 2-minute rebuttals or something because it was just ridiculous.
That's not actually, in fact, what happened in that exchange.
The whole thing was almost impossible to watch. And then with the scheduled ad breaks, I felt like fucking jumping off a roof.
Listed on your own Twitter that what you found to be convincing was something that looked like his car pulled into the driveway, a blurry.
You don't know the charges was a good one. I think Crowder had him on for a victory lap kind of deal. We'll look. Hold on. Crowder seemed like he was celebrating with Andrew Wilson, but I fucking, it's Crowder, so who gives a fuck, really? But
do you actually believe that anybody in TPUSA or Erica Kirk or Erica actually participated, had foreknowledge of, or facilitated the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I'm not going to get myself into a legal pickle here.
Oh my God!
On my podcast, I think.
Guys, hey, if you're out there saying it's clear Erica or TPUSA did it, guess what? Candace won't say it.
Final thoughts. I'll come to you first.
Yeah, she had nothing. Just nothing. For all of her claims of patsy.
By the way, I'm just going to point this out. Steven Crowder's facial features are sliding down his face. I don't know if they got like a halogen bulb or something on him for his key light. I've seen him. I used to watch him back in the day. I sometimes watch clips, but I rarely show him on the show because I really don't fucking like him. But I've seen him recently probably 10 times over the last year. Tell me his eyes, nose, and mouth are not sliding down his face like they used to be up here. It's not his hairline. His face is sliding off his face. It's like when you pick up a slice of pizza and it's still too hot and the toppings weigh it down and the cheese. His face is sliding down. Look at him. Hold on. I just want to compare something. Look at this one. 6 years ago. This is 2020. Even if we crop his hairline way the fuck up here, okay? 6 years. 6 years. Look at this one. I don't know if he's had skin tightened in something to make it look weird. Like he's had some type of plastic surgery, I'm assuming. I don't know much about plastic surgery. Clearly, I haven't had it. Couldn't afford it if I wanted it. They've done something to this man's face, and it's not good. They used to try to sell him as like a right-wing heartthrob, like a real man. Then he got knocked out by just some random union guy at a fucking protest.
Nothing. She didn't have a single claim. She didn't have a single solid piece of evidence. She had no positive evidence Israel's involved in anything. No positive evidence that France is involved in anything.
Somebody's just got a big magnifying glass above him.
No positive evidence.
It's got to be bad. Well, maybe it's good. I don't know anything about. Maybe it's good plastic surgery. Maybe that's what you want, is like this plastic sheen. Everything settles at the bottom of the mountain or whatever. It was like a rock slide.
Evidence TPUSA is involved in anything. No positive evidence that Erica Kirk is involved in anything. When I ask her about her claims about Erica Kirk, it's just funning. It's just funning, you know? Or, I do think that she needs to sit down and ask some questions, but or answer some questions, but you know what? I don't even know if she has. Like, maybe she has. I have no idea. Yes, I'm going to have an official timeline with unconfirmed evidence. That's just fine. Hey, it's hearsay. That's good enough for the states.
By the way, Andrew Wilson, who is now defending Erica Kirk, good friends with Erica Kirk, does this thing where he's like, me and my wife wed her. We did some debate training. I gave her a hug and told her how sad I was. His most recent tweet mentioning Erica Kirk was that she was too retarded to kill her own husband.
Good enough for me, but my biggest problem with the state is that they're admitting all this hearsay. It's like she's a contradiction machine. On top of all of this, the thing that I wanted to get out of this more than anything else was to just demonstrate one thing. Yes, it's true. I'm not perfect on the case. I'm not going to ever pretend that I am. I never did. But what has been made very clear to me is that there's nobody with an alternative theory that has any evidence for it at all. None. Zero. Do you have any positive evidence whatsoever that Israel killed Charlie Kirk?
Well, I couldn't say Israel was on the ground and shot and killed Charlie Kirk. I would say that there are various things that we're trying to establish, one being a motive. And since I don't believe that Tyler Robinson and his transferee is a convincing motive.
Okay, extreme fact check mission control. We have so many of the Israel clips. Get the best one to Gerald. Okay.
Him, nor do I believe that he was so into LGBTQ issues, since Lance testified he never spoke about LGBTQ issues, that he stopped and ate at Chick-fil-A, which if you are into LGBTQ issues, wouldn't be your boyfriend killed Charlie Kirk for LGBTQ issues, because,
no gays ever eat at Chick-fil-A.
Because I feel like I said, you don't get 2 full hours.
Is that what Chick-fil-A does? Chick-fil-A gets you hopped up to go kill the greatest orator a college campus has ever seen, and then you're just ravenous afterwards? Is that what Chick-fil-A does? That clip was so fucking funny.
Hour and a half.
The question I'm asking is about positive
I'm telling you that in any case, establishing a motive, and again, I already explained this at the top of the show, but the reason why people find Israel to be an interesting question is because, truthfully, Charlie's perspectives were
just to be clear, she said Lance and they never discussed it.
Was being put on not just our government.
Sure, Lance Twiggs and Tyler Robinson never discussed LGBT issues. They were just fucking.
People have come out and been honest about that, rather than rabid claiming he never flinched and everybody's lying and this is not true. You would probably have people that just go, that's life. People change their opinions.
I understand.
And then there was the rabid. I mean, not even that's everything was about trying to convince the public how much he liked it.
So then, other than intuition, how you feel about things, do you have any evidence?
They're trying to downplay that, but that, I mean, like, you could be gay and in a homosexual relationship, right? And never really discuss like fucking violence or politics or laws that, like, you could be like just a gay guy going about his life that wants everybody to leave him alone, or you could be like a gay guy that's like, hey, we got to stop these motherfuckers. They're coming for it. Like, that's a big difference.
Israel was involved in killing Charlie Kirk.
I have already said, and if you're watching my show in the context of what I said, this is the general sense of why people think Israel's involved.
No, how about why? Right now, you have made the claim. Right now, is there any evidence?
Israelis.
This is important, guys. Hey, everyone out there, she's your champion.
Who I think would have the right to assert it, noted that there were 12 Israeli cell phones on the ground that day. I think most people would like to probe that. Now, it could be maybe they were students, and they were Israeli students in Utah that day. But we'd like to probe that narrative because what we've seen after coming from the Israeli government, the Israeli prime minister, kind of denying what he did, which wasn't really necessary, was kind of busy. The phone call that happened, which no one wants to discuss in Hamptons the week prior, or not the week prior, I think it was around August 5th or 6th that took place. And again, the almost desperate lies about Charlie shipping opinion on Israel lead us to believe that there could be an Israeli angle.
I would want to know, like, that's a relevant fact. Like, if the person said, yeah, every time, you know, there was something on the news about LGBTQIA plus issues or whatever, like, he went into a fucking, you know, a fit. He would throw shit. He would scream. He'd talk about how they're coming to round us up and put us, or he'd be like, turn that shit off.
In this. I
think that's relevant.
But
But they were fucking.
Israeli donors, which, by the way, I absolutely believe is true, is why I decided to never go the 501c3 route. Don't like those donors.
You want to say however positive, negative, however you want to say it.
Well, like positive evidence
just have a conversation.
Material evidence and other evidence.
Well, what we said is on our show is what we said, which is this feels like a conspiracy building. There's no reason to lie about these things, and yet people are lying. BB ain't acting right. The Hamptons thing was weird, and the way they tried to shove the Israel narrative down our throat immediately. I mean, the day he died, posting a picture of him with an American and Israeli.
I would say easily $500,000. You know,
AI photo on the president's feed doesn't feel right. Via who? My guess is Pierre. Erica. I think that there's a reason Pierre knew that Charlie was at first. I think there's a reason he was a priority. How? Why? I think France and Israel are involved in trouble.
So she's got much bigger claims on her own podcast, right? Then when she's asked to, let's really narrow these down. Let's get the evidence behind this. Why would you say this? What caused you to think that? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I don't know. I just think we should investigate it more.
Assassination. And
she's naming names on her own podcast.
I also
So you think with full confidence you think that
I think
France
Israel's
and Israel.
Yeah,
Can we play back what she just said there? She didn't. She just said things aren't right and other people are. She said France and Israel involved, but that was full confidence. She is. Maybe at the end we have her contradicting herself throughout this thing. Come on, we actually want truth. Asking questions.
Why express that confidence to the public as opposed to just being like, we don't know yet. I feel confident he's involved.
I don't understand how would any of this make her complicit in what?
I've already told you. She's complicit in trying to.
There's the complicit. Complicit in what?
Some open and shut. Hey, Erica Kirk should be dragged into a police precinct for questioning. Like I said, you can show me the person who disagrees with me on that.
Explain to us what she is trying to paint here, where preliminary hearing versus the actual trial, because that's a very important distinction, right? He was trying to say, well, this is what's being presented. For example, reasonable hearsay. Explain to us what a preliminary hearing is, what it's designed to do, what prosecutors wouldn't do, what defenses maybe would do, in contrast to a trial.
Right. So Candace basically got it exactly backwards.
Okay.
So she's arguing like, where's the smoking gun? Where's it? You're not going to try the whole case right now in a preliminary hearing. The way Utah works right now is they do this, and by the way, I think the defense really wanted this behind closed doors for obvious reasons, but the judge said this is going to be a public hearing, is to determine, is there enough probable cause to take this thing to trial? Should we even waste our time with the trial? Now, considering the way this case is unfolded, it may seem redundant or ridiculous or unnecessary, but procedure is procedure. It's called due process. This is due process. And this is where it may sound a little ridiculous, but the point is the prosecution needs to show, hey, we have enough reason to go to trial. They're not going to give you every single piece of detail. They're not going to bring every witness. They're going to give just as much as they need to overcome this very low hurdle. Right. Get this thing now in front of a jury, and that's when they're going to come out with every single little detail.
And part of that, by the way, would play directly into what Candace was saying. They would present as little as they need to because they have to present that to the defense, and they don't want to tip their hand to the defense, right? And as we saw, everything they presented was...
That's not true. Well, we don't want to tip our hand to the defense. The defense gets all the evidence beforehand.
Given to the defense, which she claimed had not been.
Right. There is no secrets. It's discovery. You have to share these things. There's no surprise.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's not, I'm going to show you every little thing.
There's no secrets.
Right. Before trial, obviously, and during trial, the defense is going to get to impeach the prosecution's witness.
You're going to see every bit of the evidence. You might not know, like, they're building this narrative story behind it, but you're going to get to see every fucking piece of evidence that they're going to use, and the evidence they don't use.
This is question their credibility, question where they got all of this. We're not there yet. Yeah. We're not doing this right now. And she's exploiting this idea that the prosecution is holding some back or not making their case in the most detail to go see it's a weak case. Right. I want to see the smoking gun now. You may want to see the smoking gun now. Right. But they're waiting for the 12 jurors to give them every little piece of detail. That is something she's exploiting to go, well, if they're not showing it now, they must not have anything or they're concocting something. Right. It's just she got it exactly backward.
There's only one surefire way to make mad gains because a strict diet workout routine just isn't enough. If you want to truly level up, you're going to need my proprietary pump poppers.
Hey, Haas, what's proprietary about that?
You just got to trust me.
I don't, though, and they clearly shouldn't. That's why here at Foundation, we really only sell 2 supplements that you can consume. Foundation Daily, a daily multivitamin supplement, every single ingredient listed, and it's clinically active dose. You can go check out the lab certificates available upon request on the website. And Foundation Creatine. We sell Creavitalis, a patented German 99.9% pure form of creatine, the most studied kind with no fillers or additional bulk prep. Everything here is clinically proven to make your life better, unlike proprietary, what you call
pump poppers.
What's in it?
I have a patent.
I bet it's crap. Go to foundationdaily.com. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Proven science, zero secrets. That's
So he's moved over to the supplement game, clearly.
your foundation. Visit foundationdaily.com today. Subscribe, save 40% off for life.
In the beginning, I did not take an hour and a half to just pull out of context this with Angie. I actually debated the substance of what's going on. You were an Army sniper?
I wasn't a sniper in the Army.
Okay.
And I never said that.
Sorry, your wife tweeted that you were an Army sniper.
Yeah, I don't know. Like 15 years ago, she said something.
Did it change 15 years later?
She said that it was colloquial. So
Army sniper is a
Andrew Wilson's got this weird thing where he said he served for like less than a year in the military, like Bort. And at one time she tweeted out that he was an Army sniper. I think he's lied to his wife at some point and she just like remembered that. But she said it was a colloquial phrasing, like meaning, oh, he's really good with firearms is the same as serving as an Army sniper. She said he was a military instructor and Army sniper. Very weird.
Yeah, I was never.
Don't let her shift the burden here. Something that Rachel Wilson tweeted 15 years ago. She meant to say that he's the equivalent of an Army sniper. He's a very, very good shot.
I sit down with Erica for 4 hours under the assumption that she had some evidence, right? Like I'm like, this is why I did not engage in any like Erica, everyone's questioning what she's wearing and all this stuff. I was like, I'm going to wait here because I don't know, just it feels weird to think that did I think that some of her mannerisms were weird and stuff like that? Yeah, but that's
You actually did, by the way. You can bring up a clip where she's talking about Erica's stylist. Here's a clip of Candace doing just that.
I always try to stay away from the pettier things about Erica that don't register as right, but I just go, okay, it's a little too petty. People talk about her outfits, wearing glitter pants, and things like that. Yeah, it does kind of build a profile of somebody. I personally just say that I think her stylist is just deeply dislikes her, whoever it is, deeply.
Unlike everyone else, I don't talk about her outfits.
There is, however, tons of evidence that a leftist killed Charlie Kirk. This is Charlie feared they would. I believe Charlie Kirk, and I have the receipts. No, I didn't have a dream where he came to me and told me that the left killed him. No, he didn't come to me in a dream and say, Candace Owens betrayed him. That never happened. In fact, I don't need dreams of any kind because I hold in my possession never before seen messages from Charlie Kirk to security team on September 9th, 2025. I'm going to share the message with you today, which is the first time this information's ever been publicly revealed. On September 9th, Charlie's security team wrote to him, yes, law enforcement has been fully supportive and agreed to security plan and posture. Tomorrow's event will be covered by both my team and the campus PD. If additional support is required, patrol units will be available. I have 11 on site. Charlie responded with this. Okay, great. Remind them that they are there for one person's security only, because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me. That was a message sent September 9th.
By the way, personal experience, 2 people have been...
Whatever he meant by that, well, I think he meant exactly what he said.
He's seen the text, it's real.
I am doing exactly what the state did. I'm looking at a piece of evidence, and I am saying...
But you're not saying how you get there.
You describe to the audience what
yes, so this, just so everybody who's watching this at home understands what I'm saying, even if he doesn't. What Andrew is arguing is that I don't have the right to extrapolate from a fact like...
making it up. He's purely making it up. I'm asking based on...
Andrew, you're trying to say that Rule 1102 says hearsay is all admissible?
Reliable...
Or that's all hearsay? That's a lie.
Preliminary examinations. The entire preliminary hearing that you just saw was on the basis of reliable hearsay. And what that means essentially is the people who are making mistakes just say, Patrick told me that he did this.
Not all hearsay is admissible, and not everything presented was hearsay.
It's just meant to be probative. And so it's the state saying, here's what we have inferred. So you are allowed to take a piece of evidence, and then you are allowed to infer off of that evidence, okay? Case in point, that's a demonstration of, to give you, that's a demonstration of what I just did. I said the prints were the most degraded off of Tyler Robinson. And from that, what I'm inferring is that it's plausible that Tyler Robinson was set up.
That's the point in contention.
That's not a point in contention.
That's the point in contention.
It's not a point in contention. If you're saying
it is the point in contention.
It's not the point in contention. I'm telling you that is what the entire hearing allowed for. So the evidence that he is describing, that he is using to argue his case, is all based on inference, not fact. I actually, this is why I did not engage in any like Erica, everyone's questioning what she's wearing and all this stuff. I was like, I'm going to wait here because I don't know, just it feels weird. I always try to stay away from the pettier things about Erica that don't register as right, but I just go, okay, it's a little too petty. People talk about her outfits, wearing glitter pants, and things like that. Yeah, it does kind of build a profile of somebody. I personally just say that I think her stylist is just deeply dislikes her, whoever it is, deeply dislikes her.
I want to just directly ask you is, do you actually believe that anybody in TPUSA or Erica Kirk or Erica actually participated, had foreknowledge of, or facilitated the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I'm not going to get myself into a legal pickle here.
Oh my God!
On my podcast, I think
guys, if you're out there saying it's clear Erica or TPUSA did it, guess what?
If
Candace won't say it.
I would seat them all.
So either she doesn't know or she's a coward and you need a better champion. So all the people out there with YouTube channels, it's done. It's done now. Your theory she won't back up because she says she won't get a legal pickle. She doesn't have the courage that you do on your X profile or Instagram or YouTube channel with 50,000 subscribers. She won't do it. She won't do it. You need someone better.
These are all things that I'm not even disputing.
Okay,
we never get to the thing that I am disputing.
Well, I was just providing an answer. We were coming back in from a break because you were talking about the text message, something that you felt was concrete. So it was just my rebuttal to you that it's not concrete because they haven't had a chance to actually answer that, and she didn't even get to see your client's phone. So that's effectively.
So fingerprints aren't concrete because his weren't the most notable fingerprints. Okay. The text messages aren't concrete because they're taken from a cracked phone, even though the defense didn't dispute the authenticity. The father's admitting when questioned that his son did, and he advised him to speak to a youth pastor, is not concrete because he didn't bring it forward and turn his son in.
They may not be facts.
But none of those pieces of information, ultimately, the facts of the matter in the case, are in dispute. Not even by Candace.
My position's always been clear. Of course conspiracies exist. Some of them have way better evidence than others. But I've seen them myself. I know conspiracy. In fact, the federal government has hundreds of thousands of laws about conspiracies. They see them everywhere. We both know this, right? That's never what the problem is. The problem is when you make claims outside of, well, wait a second. I'm just questioning evidence here. I'm just questioning what the state's case is here. I'm just asking questions. It's when you make claims outside of that, where you claim that there's good evidence or good standards, you should believe because, and then it turns out that it's all nonsense or it's wackadoo stuff or it makes no sense. And when we have a chance to cross-examine your evidence that you presented, I'm going to show a lot of that.
We all know that there are people who will agree with you. And by the way, PBD's crowd mostly thought you would. We'll bring up our own poll. But you know that there are people who will agree with you no matter what, people who will agree with her no matter what. Then there's some who have ears to hear, eyes to see. How do you think that needle will be moved from today?
I think it's the beginning of a snowball effect.
Okay.
So now that she's been challenged, I think, and had to give an accounting for the evidence, did a very poor job, I think that more of them will feel compelled to do more of these debates, or at least I'm hoping so. And I think that'll create the snowball effect. At least that's what I'm hoping. But ultimately, there wasn't a need to push back too much on too many things because she just admitted that she didn't have any evidence for anything. Well, so where do you go from there? You're like, hey, do you have any evidence for that? And they're like, no. She went back on all of her claims. And so, like, where do you go from there? In other words, there was nowhere I needed to go to demonstrate what it was I was trying to demonstrate, which is that these people have lots and lots of claims, and the second they're confronted with them, they back off on all of them every single time. Her sources, what a joke that was. My sources told me. Well, what validates your sources? The fact that I've released some, footage and stuff. How would that validate your sources in these things? That makes no sense at all. These, I think ultimately, I'm sure that there's going to be some negative clips about me, especially pushed by the Owens people. But ultimately,
I'm going to do some negative clips on you, but that's just for funsies.
Of course. But ultimately, she didn't have anything. She had nothing. She literally had nothing. And so, what made this an easy debate for me was that she didn't fucking have nothing. Like, what do you want me to do?
Hey, you like what you saw? I don't know how because it's on YouTube and we have to cut all the good parts out. So you should tune in live weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern on Rumble. We can still speak freely and even use words like and and so. Whoa, you been here this whole time?
Yeah. Snuck in.
Amazing ad work there, Crowder. So that's the Candace Owens show. It's not great. I don't know who people are saying won. Let's see. Liberty lockdown. Candace Owens eviscerates Andrew Wilson. Let's see what clips they grab. We can't watch all this. It's like 45 minutes, but I wouldn't advise watching the whole goddamn 4-hour podcast or debate or whatever. It sucks.
Women are retarded.
Oh, so you're allowed to just say stuff.
Here's my prediction. It'll look for the first 30 minutes like I'm on the back foot as I draw the position out, and then I'm going to absolutely eviscerate this chick. That's what's going to happen. I'm off for the debate tomorrow. It should be awesome for me. It'll at least be awesome for me.
Fact check, false. It was not awesome for you, Andrew Wilson. Holy shnikes.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
That was fun. That was thrilling. I really, really enjoyed it. If you guys haven't watched it yet, I highly recommend you do. It was very, very long, but worth your time in my view, especially if you follow this case closely. But to me, it was like a guy joining the WNBA and then realizing that actually he's the only woman on the court. That's what it felt like to me. It was Michaela Jordan, and everybody else there was like an elite male athlete. Basically, in short, what I'm saying is Andrew Wilson ran into a buzzsaw. And this is essentially how I expected it to play out, and largely because I knew, based off of witnessing some of Andrew's prior contentions or prior arguments about this case, that he really didn't know the facts. He didn't have a good handle on it. He wasn't actually studying it. He certainly hadn't spent the past...
Yeah, we all lost just for seeing it.
Wrap his head around or wrap his mind around all of the details that mattered about this case. And I knew for a fact that Candace had. And I knew that if you gave enough time, enough breath to actually allow for these conversations to play out, that it would become apparent. And we're going to get to the anvil moment in a second. But first, I want to unpack the first couple minutes of this conversation, because there was an admission by Andrew Wilson that I found jaw-dropping, truly. Given that the premise of this debate was that his argument, his side, his position was that the evidence against Tyler Robinson, that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk with a rifle, was overwhelming. Quote, that was the position that he was there to defend. And when pressed about that fact, by, I think it was PPD who asked it, said, what percentage do you give to that claim? Like, how confident are you? And this is what he has to say.
Just out of curiosity, are you between 0 to 100? What is the likelihood that you think Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk and killed him?
Based on the evidence right now, I don't know, I'd say 75, 85%.
Candace?
0%?
0%.
I'm at 0.
So,
with what we've seen in terms of the evidence.
I think it made her, like, there was enough of him looking bad in front of her and lying about the stuff he had tweeted out and blah, 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 that made him look bad. But I think it made her look like everything she's got, she backed way off of what she actually says on her show versus what she came here to debate. Not the same claims. She wouldn't stick to those claims. She's like, I don't want to get in legal hot water. You'll just have to watch my show kind of deal. And she based way too much of her shit on just absolute conspiracy and her sources that can't be named or shown or proven.
I'm at 0%.
So obviously it's not very surprising that Candace Owens says 0%, that she's not convinced at all by the evidence that we've seen so far. I'm not in her camp. I think that it's like 30 or 40% chance that Tyler did it, or that he was at least a participant. I'd even go all the way up to 50 or 60%. I think that it's probable that he was involved in some fashion, but I'm far from being convinced that he actually pulled the trigger or that Charlie was even shot by a 30-06 Mouse 98. But the admission that I found totally jaw-dropping was that this guy is there to defend the position that the evidence against Tyler Robinson is overwhelming. That's the claim. And he says he's 75 to 85% confident. I mean, take a low number, right? 75%. That means that you believe there's a 25% chance that an innocent man is on trial for his life, that a guy who is in your industry, Charlie Kirk, was assassinated, and that the wrong man is facing trial, facing the death penalty. And you are there to defend the prosecution's narrative and to condemn Candace Owens for asking questions about their case, while you yourself admit in the first 10 minutes of this debate that you think that there's a 1 in 4 chance that the wrong guy is on trial. It's over. That's it. That's the whole debate. I mean, what does the word overwhelming mean? Well, I'm not going to give you the definition. We all know how it's utilized. It's utilized to demonstrate that it's overwhelming, that you are basically, there's so much evidence that it's almost impossible for you to come to a different conclusion. At 25% leeway, you're admitting that there is plenty of room for you to be convinced of something else having taken place that day. You are admitting yourself that all of the investigation, the entire 10 months of investigating that Candace Owens and so many others have been participating in, has been just. It has been.
Yeah, but 10 months of investigation sounds impressive, but as what, like, we spent 10 months listening to other people's investigations. We spent 10 months getting crazy insider sources. We spent 10 months slowing down videos and being like, I don't think that's how that's supposed to look. We spent 10 months of investigation is a long time when you have a fucking FBI field team on it. 10 months of investigation when you have a podcaster on it is like, well, who cares if it was 10 years?
Thing to do. It refutes the entire argument that you're going to make in the second half, essentially condemning her for postulating far-fetched conspiracy theories in your worldview. Basically, I'm saying if your position is that you are overwhelmed by the evidence against Tyler Robinson, you better have 95% confidence, right? But I would say 95% confidence is where I would start to say, like, it's overwhelming, man. But sure, maybe there's some far-fetched, out-there idea that I'm not aware of at this point. But from everything I've seen so far, I'm convinced. I'm basically convinced. It's almost certainly him. That's not what he says in the open. He is basically admitting that he is also not convinced. I mean, unless he's a psychopath, because I feel like anybody else who is only 75% convinced would be like, yeah, let's keep digging. Let's keep investigating. Let's make sure that we have this right? But to be fair to Andrew's position, he did present, scare quotes, new evidence. I don't know how new this evidence is, and I don't know if it's legitimate. It's just him saying that he's received a copy of a text message that has not been made public, but this is what he has to say.
Charlie responded with this. Okay, great. Remind them that they are there for one person's security only, because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me. That was a message sent September 9th.
But he was not messaging people the day before saying, I'm going to be murdered, they're coming after me, someone's going to kill me. He didn't say that. And I have his cell phone.
Okay, let's take it at face value. That's legitimate. Did Charlie Kirk actually know who was going to kill him that day? I would argue probably not. He may have had suspicions, and he was clearly right to suspect that his life was in jeopardy. He got that part right. But just because he thought that the left might be the person or the culprit behind it, does that mean that he was right about that? No, obviously it doesn't. But what I do find interesting is that suddenly text messages in the immediate hours before his untimely death and assassination are now valid. They are now admissible in the court of public opinion. You can now discuss what was Charlie thinking, what was he talking about in private. Suddenly it's okay. When Candace Owens did it in the month after the assassination, when she presented the text saying that he had no choice but to abandon the pro-Zero cause, and he was very upset about the pressure he was receiving from pro-Zionist owners, that was somehow beyond the pale. But now it's okay. Okay, just making sure we're all on the same page. The rules have been updated. But it's intriguing. It's interesting. Certainly, it would have been nice if there was a little bit more meat to it. If he had clarified if there was any explicit threats that he received in the immediate days or hours leading up to those text messages. It'd be great if we had that information. And I have a harebrained idea. How about we have a real investigation and we actually find out if there was any meat on that bone, if there was any reason for him to suspect that had he received any online or electronic threats in the 72 hours before he sent that text message. Do we have answers to that, Andrew? Wouldn't you like to know? I would. I think America would. Anybody in his orbit ought to. If they're actually interested in justice and not just winning an online blood sports debate, I think we ought to actually be demanding that. We ought to be asking ourselves, why haven't all of those leads been ran down? Why is it that Josh Hammer and so many of the other insiders that were involved in those group chats, why did they lie? Why did they lie in the immediate aftermath saying that those text messages didn't exist?
Let's go here. This is the complicit part of the argument, I think.
One thing, though, that I want to just directly ask you is, do you actually believe that anybody in TPUSA or Erica Kirk or Erica actually participated, had foreknowledge of, or facilitated the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I'm not going to get myself into a legal pickle here. Everything I've said is on my podcast. I think firmly that if I was the investigating officers, I would seat them all and I would ask questions. I would at this phase. I would.
Okay,
so
what does that mean?
No shit. Sit them all down and ask questions.
Does
that mean that you do think so?
I think it was not a sufficient investigation into what we know to be true of 80% of homicides. It's usually conducted by someone you know, right? And the fact that that was never even considered, that, like I said earlier, the backpack was returned.
How do you know that was never considered?
Because they gave back the backpack, as just one example. They gave back the backpack, they gave back the...
That doesn't show.
So her claim is that during this investigation, they found a backpack that they thought may have belonged to the shooter. And it was what they thought the Tyler Robinson's escape route was. Blah, blah, blah. It was a ways away from the actual shooting, but they thought it might have been along his escape route. She claims that during the investigation, at some point, someone said, no, that's not part of the evidence. That's actually belongs to a TPUSA staff member. And they're like, oh, sorry. And they just gave the backpack back without any further investigation.
Well, I mean, it shows that the police trusted everybody and didn't just hold things up for a second.
They ruled them out as suspects.
That quickly, I'm not comfortable with that investigation. It's a pretty big organization. There's a $100 million incentive. People, this is...
$100 million incentive.
What I'm saying is his organization, like they had grown to, I think it was $100
per year.
Yeah, per year. If that's what you want to
He wants to play video, if you don't mind. There's a video they want to play of Candace said it's impossible to not believe Erica's complicit. If you guys want to play that video.
And so right now, their guys are going out and they're going to look for evidence. And then by May, which is fortunately around the corner, then she'll see what they found. So what the F is that performance? How could you sit up there and say, yes, I 100% believe Tyler Robinson did it? That right there is why it's impossible for me to think that Erica Kirk is not complicit somehow. Because what?
I do think Erica Kirk that was stupid for her to say. She should have said, like, look, it seems like the investigation is pointing towards Tyler Robinson. The investigators are doing their job. This will all be, play out in court. Whoever's guilty, I hope Charlie we get justice for that. But to say, like, as soon as the arrest was made, and then you run on fucking CNN to say, I 100% think that, without a doubt, it was this guy. How would you know?
Those two thoughts actually don't even follow. How would it be the case that even if Erica Kirk did believe that Tyler Robinson was 100% responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk, let's say she believed with every fiber of her being, believed all the evidence, because she did. She just actually did. Would it then follow that somehow she's complicit in his death?
Those two don't follow.
In death. You added those two words.
Okay, so what's she complicit in?
Yes, so sowing this narrative that Tyler Robinson is guilty, so you're chopping up clips, like I said.
That's what it was. Complicit in his death? I didn't say in death. Then complicit in what?
You didn't have confidence. We are showing a clip of her on Barry Weiss, which I can't remember the date that she did that interview. And Erica, when she's asked, do you feel with 100% certainty that Tyler Robinson did this? And she says, I do. Then, again, context matters. I sit down with Erica for 4 hours under the assumption that she had some evidence, right? Like, I'm like, this is why I did not engage in any, like, Erica, everyone's questioning what she's wearing and all this stuff. I was like, I'm going to wait here because, I don't know, just it feels weird to think that. Did I think that some of her mannerisms were weird and stuff like that? Yeah, but that's not, you can't convict somebody on weird mannerisms. And then when I sat down with her, and I was expecting for her to say, well, I'm obviously the victim on the case and we got to see the shot, taken or this or that, whatever it is. Great. That's why she has that much confidence 2 months ago. When I sat down with her, it was nothing. Okay, so this is a conversation.
How would that make her complicit?
Complicit. Again, you said complicit in the death of Charlie Kirk. Well, if you let me finish my sentence, I can tell you that. But my point being is that then you take a look at this and you go, okay, well, this is weird. Why would you have this confidence? And then when you sit across from somebody and you say, okay, great, I want to go out there and defend you now. I want people to know that you can't say this publicly, but you know more things. And she just blanks. And then she says, well, I'm going to call the lawyer. And she called the lawyer. Again, all this is on my show. So out of context clip is not going to work because I know what I say on my show. Okay. So we call her lawyer and her lawyer says to us, she calls him on the phone, pardon me. And it's me, her, and Justin Strife. And I'm like, okay, great. What do you guys have? He goes, well, we don't have anything yet. We're not at that phase yet. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't have anything? He says, well, don't you know how it works? It's a probable cause hearing. So basically the state says that they're going to bring this forward. And now our people go out and they look for the evidence to assert that Tyler Robinson is guilty. And so I asked her directly, her lawyer directly, the phone's in between us. I'm like, wait, so just so I'm clear, you haven't seen anything that the public hasn't seen? And he says, no. So I'm going back in and I'm going, okay, so why is Erica saying with such a degree of certainty that she was sent out to convince the public and people bit, by the way? I remember even Megyn Kelly was like, let's wait. She's going to have access to things. I did think she had access to things that we didn't have. Why express that confidence to the public as opposed to just being like, we don't know yet. I feel confident he's involved.
But I don't understand, how would any of this make her complicit?
I've already told you. She's complicit in trying to fool the public into thinking this is some open and shut case.
How's she trying to fool the public into this? If she believes that Tyler Robinson killed Kirk, if she believes that, how would that be complicit in anything?
I do.
Are you saying that you think she doesn't believe it?
I don't believe that at that stage she sat down with Barry Weiss. That's what she believes. No, but that's my opinion.
Right, but so when you just say complicit, you just mean she believes that Tyler Robinson killed Kirk? That's it?
That's what we were talking about. That's why I said if your strategy was to dice up clips and take it out of context and make it seem like
strategy,
she was
you can
complicit.
explain
Yeah, but then why not just play the full thing? Like why?
Because we don't have like infinite amounts of time, I'm guessing? You probably don't want to watch.
I'm going to go back to my theory that you didn't feel confident that you could defend your claim that it's overwhelming evidence, and now you're trying to move towards doctor clips and getting
Well, there's no doctor in anything. I'm just making sure that we got this right.
Yes,
That what you're actually saying is that Erica is just complicit in believing
and when
it.
I re-examined her actions backward, because I did not have this perspective of her at the beginning, which is why it's so funny to me that you guys made it seem like I'm ground zero. People thought Erica was sus from day I forgive him, and I was not a part of that. I did not lean into that. I did not contribute to that. I was getting actually terrible messages from my fans being like, Candace, you and Charlie always say to go with your intuition. You won't address this, how we all feel about her. Things changed for me when I saw that Zoom call. I will tell you that for sure. And the fact that she lied to me. So I sat across from her and, I wanted to have that conversation publicly, but they're probably grateful they didn't do it publicly. She told me some lies. And so the next thing that happens naturally when somebody lies to you, when any person lies to you, whether it's a toddler, people only lie when they're trying to obscure something else.
Have you addressed what that lie was?
Yeah, I talked about, we have a list of lies we can talk about. We can find that.
In the meeting with her.
Well, no, I didn't want her to cage up. I didn't want to do this. Because I didn't know what to expect. Like I didn't know if she was going to be like, I'm so overwhelmed with everything, and I don't know who to trust in the organization. And I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't want to.
Just out of curiosity, before anything happened with Charlie, how close were you and Erica?
Not very close.
So there's not a relationship?
No, I mean, I would say it's totally normal. Like it's not like there was any issues at all. She was always.
I feel like she spent way too much time defending this right here. Like trying to say, like, I was just in a different spot in my life. It's almost like she doesn't want people to think they didn't like each other, but maybe they did. Or like she spends way too much time describing this relationship.
Always nice to each other. It just is our life went to a different phase, right? So Charlie and I hitting the ground, running around, traveling 4 days a week. Now I get married. I find love in my life. I get married and I get pregnant. I've been pregnant. I haven't stopped being pregnant. And what you want out of life changes. You don't want to be running around for 4 days a week and traveling on a plane nonstop. You suddenly want to start building a home and live. I was desiring that suburban life.
Did you guys ever do the double dates? You, George, her, and Charlie? Was there ever double dates between?
I was engaged to George quickly. We were planning our wedding. I was kind of in my bubble with George. George traveled with me and Charlie, but Erica and him were just starting to date at the beginning of 2019. George and I were planning our marriage. So George really got to know Charlie. I wouldn't say that I really got to know Erica. I was just rooting for them because I knew how much Charlie wanted to, find love. And so I was kind of his wing woman throughout that phase. And I was just happy. And I never was under the impression, obviously, that they were going to get married when they were dating. So it wasn't like I was conscious. I really need to get to know this person. And so it was just kind of normal that by that time, because of where I was in my life, that I wasn't spending any time getting to know Erica.
Like all she had to do was be like, no. Like by the time they were getting like really serious, I was already, planning a wedding or whatever. They were just seriously dating. They weren't engaged or anything. So no, it was just two different times. Like Charlie was, close to us, but we just weren't close yet with Erica, and then everything happened. But she's like, no, it was a different spot in my life, and I was planning marriages, and I was having this baby, and I didn't think that they'd ever get married, and it was so weird.
Implicit part about Erica to you, is that a gut feeling? Do you think
it transformed when she lied?
You can take the lead. I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, no, I don't. I actually don't. I still don't understand what do you think she's complicit in?
Yeah. So when I say Erica's complicit, that's my opinion. When you tweeted Erica's too retarded to kill her husband, would you like to explain how you developed your evidence, your positive evidence for the fact that Erica was retarded?
Yeah, sure. So I just think all women are retarded.
Oh, so you're allowed to just say stuff. Who knew? So and by the way, what dramatically transformed your opinion of Erica after going to the headquarters? Because you were pretty hostile about.
Also, total rug failure. What the fuck is this Native American technology glitch, big ass humps, and what the fuck is happening? Multi-million-dollar studio, my ass.
I wasn't hostile towards him.
You don't think calling somebody too retarded?
No, come on. That's like normal tongue-in-cheek stuff for me online.
Oh, you're being tongue-in-cheek.
I do like that chair though.
Tongue-in-cheek.
Usually when I call someone retarded, I'm being tongue-in-cheek, yeah. Like for instance, you got supporters. I mean, if you want to use the same exact argument, you would take a supporter like Owen Benjamin. He called you bad names and called your husband bad names. You're just like, well, that's no biggie?
I've never answered him on anything that he said. I'm saying that you now are her biggest offender. So do you still think
I'm not a biggest offender.
Do you still think she's too retarded?
No. I didn't know Erica Kirk. I'd never met her before.
Okay, but you had an issue with Turning Point being led by a bunch of fembots talking about the feminist angle. And then suddenly you go to the headquarters. You go into the headquarters. Now all of a sudden you've got text messages that you're sharing with them. You say that you and your wife are getting involved with management.
No, I'm not involved in any management.
Well, I'm pretty sure there was a clip of you where you say that your wife went to their recent conference and sat down, and then when you were under Rogan.
No. Hang on. I'll explain what happened, just so that you understand.
Yeah.
So I was invited there to do some debate training. That's literally what I was invited there to do on recommendation. So I went down and did some debate. That's the first time I ever met anybody.
His wife's been out trying to debate feminists and shit now too. Like, I don't know.
Okay, then you said you sat down with.
They're all so fucking cringy, dude.
So you didn't sit down and speak with Erica?
No, I didn't have like some sit down long conversation. We talked in the hallway.
Okay. Is that when you gave her the hug?
Yeah, gave her the hug right there. My wife did too. We were both very sorry for that.
Okay, so at what point did you start receiving text messages from that you cited in your opening statement?
Well, I just reached out to TPUSA and said I'm prepping for a debate. Is there anything that's pertinent that I can use here?
Do you find it interesting that people have been asking for basic answers to questions, and you're saying that you walked into their headquarters and reached out and they?
It's amazing, isn't it? If you reach out in good faith and you're not demonizing them and saying that they're complicit in the murder of people's deaths, that perhaps they're actually willing to release things to you that are pertinent, other than thinking that perhaps you're diabolical.
Well, I feel like if I was going to release that information.
That perhaps you're diabolical.
I didn't demand it be released to me.
You're going to release the information.
I just simply said that this is what was going on in the last 48 hours.
Funny.
Maybe to the media they could release it. They could release it to PBD. They decided to release it to a guy that called Erica too retarded in June.
So what?
Yeah, I just think it kind of shows that Turning Point is sending you as their horse.
Well, I don't
they
know
don't have the courage to have the conversation. If they were just releasing something in good faith to answer questions, I never demanded. It's not evidence. You're sharing your opinion that she's too retarded. I can't share my opinion, but I think it's registered as really obvious to the public that rather than presenting that throughout the course of everybody wanting to know what Charlie was going through his last days, they decided to give it to you to come to my house as some sort of a surprise. Do you think the public's not smart enough to do that?
Do you think that if you know that there's a huge debate that's coming out that's going to be probably one of the emails viewed that year. And one of the debaters calls you and says, I'm taking this position. This is the position that I feel like there's the most evidence for. And Candace also agreed to answer many of my questions in regards to this. So if you got pertinent evidence here that I can use, I definitely like to take a look. It was actually amazing to me. It really was actually amazing to me how if you approach people in good faith and just say, hey, I'd actually like to know what the facts and details are on this, they actually do talk to you. It's amazing.
Yeah, I just do not believe, A, that they are doing this in good faith. I don't believe that anything you have done is demonstrated that's in good faith. It demonstrates that you walked into Turning Point USA headquarters and came out a different man because you were critical of the organization. You were critical of Erica, and now you're sitting here going, Candace, I want to interrogate you for an hour and a half about everything
Have you ever been critical of somebody that you hadn't met and you meet them and you're less critical of them?
And the inverse has happened too. I was less critical about Erica, and now I'm more critical about her.
But I'm asking you, isn't it the case that there's people you've been critical of? And you've met them, you're less critical after you meet them?
Too retarded. I feel like if you think that she's dumb and let's just talk about your record. I mean, you're a person that has spent time in what most people would term to be the manosphere, talking about feminists. Well, yeah,
I debate against against feminists and red pillars and a lot of the actual. So I'm a Christian ethicist.
And then you go on to Joe Rogan and you're like soft explaining away why Erica had to take over Charlie's company when they don't have a parent at home. So now you're a feminist icon. Like you just go to the headquarters and you just shift all of your perspectives.
That's a bizarre criticism. Like nobody's in the bigger girl boss position than you.
Yeah, I'm actually
you're in the biggest of the girl boss positions. Like you don't have to do this. You do this. You could definitely not do it at all and be fine, right? But you still do.
I would say that you are making a comparison that cannot be compared because Erica's husband was just assassinated in front of the world.
Which makes sense why she would take the organization.
No, it makes sense why you go home to your kids. Just so you know.
Wait a second. That's bizarre.
They don't have a parent. They don't have a parent, and they just suffered a trauma. You don't go into the office.
You want to protect.
So she's a girl boss, but no one else should be. You should go home and take care of your kids.
His legacy, right? And you're trying to find something.
The legacy is his children, not the organization.
It's both.
No,
yes, it is both. It's totally rational and reasonable to believe that it would be both Turning Point USA that is part of Charlie Kirk's legacy. He worked his whole life for it.
This is why people think she's us.
And his children. Now, for you though, to say that anybody's a girl boss, right? That's like calling Kettle Black.
That came out of your mouth.
No, that was you. You brought up girl boss.
Girl boss came out of your mouth.
Yeah, I'm telling you that you brought up this idea that I'm defending some feminist nonsense. I'm not. I'm pointing out that by the way,
she's not qualified to take over his company.
There's always objective outliers to each situation. In fact, it's the exception that proves the rule. And the interesting thing here is like I'm still just as critical of feminism inside TPUSA as I've always been, and I'm just as critical of any pro-Zionist position as I've ever been. None of that's ever changed. By the way, I would think it's the most rational, reasonable thing on planet Earth to do if you wanted to actually see an organization change, to try to work with leadership or reach out to leadership to try to do so. Doesn't that make the most sense?
I would like to state for the record that I think Erica is underqualified to run the organization, and on the more emotional aspects, I agree with what seems to be a majority opinion, just not to say scientific, that any woman that would leave her kids and go right into the office after their husband was publicly assassinated does not have their priorities straight.
When we set out to create a shoe that blends comfort,
there it is. The shoe, the shoe commercial.
We chose true Italian craft.
They make handmade Italian shoes and sell them on PBD's broadcast. They're called I want to say the Future Life or something like that. TFL maybe. Handmade Italian leather shoes, and they sell them on a fucking political MLM podcast.
Craftsmanship. Each pair touched by 50 skilled hands. We chose patience, spending 2 years perfecting every detail, and we chose the finest quality at every step. Introducing the Future Looks Bright collection. Not
Future Looks Bright, yeah.
Not ordinary. Rather, intentional, luxurious, timeless. If you enjoy this video, you want to watch more videos?
That's where I buy all my shoes from.
Click here, and if you want the entire podcast, click here.
All right, there you go, guys. That's the Candace Owens update. Bort is now going to take down Andrew Wilson for embarrassing Candace Owens.
Robert Land says that she kicked him to the moon and back. The guy is stupid. I just don't understand why he's so popular. I don't understand what happened to make this guy stand out and get so much attention.
Listen.
I could prepare to debate him on any subject in 24 hours and make him look like an idiot.
Any subject, Andrew Wilson, this is the offer. Any subject in the world. Bort has 24 hours to prepare, and he's going to make you look like an idiot. Let's make this happen, chat.
And make him look like an idiot. Anyway,
imagine being so bold that you're like any subject in the world. I don't care if tomorrow you came up and tell me a word I've never heard before and it's a legitimate field of study. I would, in 24 hours, and you're an expert in it, let's say. In 24 hours, I will debate and destroy you and make you look like an idiot.
Let's go ahead and move on. And we've got everybody. It seems like there's quite a few people that have already rejoined, and they came in and they hit.
He can't even operate his own computer. Someone said Andrew Wilson can't open the pickles, and Bort can't afford them. Sounds like a good match. Always.
Their thumbs down, like they loyal little commies that they are.
Ooh.
22 thumbs down within just a couple of minutes here. Pretty much nobody follows Brad.
Okay, I'll decide a topic. 24 hours, and you got to debate legend of pretzels.
Anymore, pretty much nobody follows Brad anymore. Pushing that AI stuff is not something we're going to do here.
No one follows Brad Barton anymore, okay? Brad has about 129,000 followers on his Rumble channel and 161,000 followers on his Facebook account. So we're looking at 300,000 followers. Bort has 500 followers. But no one follows Brad anymore.
Welcome to the Burt Lynch Show. Where the heck is everybody tonight?
God, Bort looks like he's about to teach me some new martial art that he's made up himself and patented that doesn't actually work in the real world, but it's all around pocket sand. It's all based around pocket sand. Or just it's all based around groin shots, but Bort thinks a groin shot is also a hand job. So it's like once you finish them, they go right to sleep. Look at this. Tell me it doesn't feel like he's fixing to teach you his brand new workout routine that's never worked for anybody ever. He's already sweaty.
Burt Lynch Show.
Bad lighting.
Where the heck is everybody tonight?
Going to teach you how to fight off a mountain lion, and Shadow's going to be the fucking Op 4. Jesus Christ. Bort Kwando. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. Support the show if you want to. Thank you for the new subscriptions tonight. I appreciate that. I'll get those processed through Twitch next month, so that'll be a nice little payday. I appreciate it. If you want to support the show directly, you can do it at buymeacoffee.com/coldbeer. I'd appreciate that. And yeah, getting on with life. Mariah's birthday's coming up this week. If you see her and wish her a happy birthday on August the 19th. And she's trying to get a job right now. She wants to go back to working some and getting out of the house now that the kids are in school. Yeah, I'll keep you guys updated. I'm going to be working on a lawnmower. I made a little video just kind of showing the lawnmower and asking people. And I have some good leads. Somebody said it's a moto mower from like the 30s. I have some research to do, but I'm going to get that engine running and see what I can do with the lawnmower. I'm going to be mowing my grass with that mower. That's a promise. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good night.
But I can tell you this about if this douchebag happens to see this particular show, you don't have the forking balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the forking balls. You don't have the balls.
Okay, Scott.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well listen bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believers? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshipping drums, cocking, begging for a throat deposit. Swinging fucking meat hammers like four in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, beating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers.